If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
June 16th, yes, this is the day, isn't it, hey? We're going to celebrate it today, Kendall. It's all here. I'm Elvis Preslin.
I'm Kendall Makamati.
We are the Newsroom. We'll be with you until 12 o'clock. Now, today it's a very interesting question because it revolves around Youth Day.
Absolutely, 100%. And today is the 16th of June, that day when we're asking you the question, what are you celebrating today, the 16th of June, on Youth Day?
That's the question. You can keep them coming on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom as well as on the Facebook page. Let's take a look at what you are saying to us right now on the Twitter handle in relation to the question, what are you celebrating today? Let's take a look.
No, seems like, there we go. The first one is, well, this is the poll now that we're asking you. We're hoping that you'll be able to get some idea from you what you're celebrating on Youth Day, but we...
Yes, let's see if we can get those tweets up. We're going to come back to the poll in a short while we look at that number, but let's take a look at what you are suggesting to what are you celebrating today. Peter Mofokeng says, we don't have an enabling environment to run businesses successfully as a newcomer. Well, what about that? It's a very interesting take because, I mean, black business has always been there, Kendall. I mean, why are we newcomers? The taxi industry is not a newcomer to this business.
Business did not
One of the biggest industries in this country.
And business did not start in 1652 either.
Yes.
Gabriel says, during apartheid, no one was unemployed. Instead, you were forced to look for a job.
Londi says, part of slave mentality that came with the oppressor, it must stop. Prepare our young people to be employers rather, not employees. I like that one, Londi, because that is where we're going to with this one. We want to empower our people to be entrepreneurs.
Yes, and think in a different way, different mindset, different paradigm. That's what we're trying to get into everybody's mind right now.
But we're also conducting that poll. Remember, we said we're going to put up that poll for you right now. Let's put it up again and ask you that question. Is there too much red tape to start a small business in South Africa?
Interesting enough, we've already got 139 votes in, and the overwhelming majority, an A, 86% say yes, it is too much red tape to start a small business in SA.
Well, I can tell you offline here in studio, I had a number of conversations around that question, and a number of people say, no, it's not so hard to start off a new business.
You clearly have not tried.
Let's see what people are saying. Let's take a look on the Twitter handle as well as on the Facebook page, what you are saying to us. Let's take a look at some of those. So there's no comments really on the
our poll.
There's no comments on the poll. So there's no comments on the poll, right? So we're going to move on. We have a sport question. Yes?
100%. We've got a sporting question to get into the weekend with. Last night, Caster Semenya won her 800 meters in Oslo, stormed to a victory in that. But we're asking you, because it didn't just start now. Caster Semenya has for 22 months been unbeaten in the 400, 800 and 1500 meters. That's almost 2 years that she's not been beaten in any of those races. So we're asking you, is Caster Semenya the greatest track athlete of all time from South Africa?
Well, there you have it. That's the question. Let's see what you are saying. Lawrence says, well, she is the best in South Africa. That's all I can say, says Lawrence.
Sikwala says she is simply the best.
Well, it reminds me of a song, that one. Nazim Grootboom says, yes. Hashtag Caster Semenya.
Well, there you go. Comments coming in thick and fast, and we'd like to have more of those coming through to see what else people are thinking about Caster Semenya, as well as the other questions and poll that we've got on is the red tape in South Africa blocking entrepreneurs.
We'll take a look at those comments in a short while, but right now let's take a look at your news headlines. South Africa commemorates Youth Day with President Jacob Zuma to deliver the keynote address at Ventersdorp. The Chamber of Mines has vowed to take legal action against the Mineral Resources Department to force it to suspend the implementation of the new mining charter. And the inauguration of Lesotho's Prime Minister-elect Tom Tabane is expected to go ahead today, despite the killing of his estranged wife on Wednesday night. Those are all your headlines, but before we get there to the news, let's find out from Kendall what's happening in the sports as well as in the news.
Thank you very much, Elvis. Good morning to you. Let me bring you a quick one on what's happening in the world of sports before I bring you our top stories in the news.
Well, that's going to be 4, which means India get the winning runs. He doesn't get the 100, but he's very happy. The 4th time India get into the finals of the Champions Trophy.
India strolls into the ICC Champions Trophy final with an emphatic 9-wicket victory over plucky Bangladesh. And it's the dawn of a new era as the FIFA Confederations Cup becomes the first time that video assistance refereeing gets used in a major senior football tournament. All this is Lion star centre Lionel Mapoy joins the box as injury cover for outside centre Jesse Creel. Good morning. It's June the 16th and President Jacob Zuma will deliver the keynote address at Ventersdorp today when the town hosts the National Youth Day celebrations. The Northwest town is home to the late Avia beer leader Eugene Ter Blanche and struggle icon J.B. Marks.
Ventersdorp, the town is known for having been the home of those who opposed the demise of apartheid. And it would seem that even after more than 20 years into democracy, more is still to be done to correct the past.
This is where the house, basically, of where racism was a huge factor with the passing on of Eugene Ter Blanche. The circumstances in which he was murdered was racially motivated. So we are still left with some of his followers.
Ventersdorp has also produced heavyweights such as J.B. Marks, who contributed significantly to South Africa achieving its freedom. June 16 celebrations are expected to be led by President Jacob Zuma. The day will be commemorated under the theme, The Year of OR Tambo, Advancing Youth Economic Empowerment. They are also hoping that the June 16 celebrations will draw attention to the town's current challenges.
The things that we want in Ventersdorp, more especially a college and the other high school, so that Tutobusa can be a secondary school and create more jobs for young people.
Silwane Khachau, SABC News, Ventersdorp.
Now, for more on what's currently happening in Ventersdorp, we're joined by reporter Olebogeng Khosilindzi. Good morning, Lebo. Please give us an idea what activities are planned to go on there from this morning.
They made this happen, Agere. Yeah, so Koparekeneng Ritokala Sihale Ritlop Tansa Rebone Regime Natagere. Levata Honam Natimo Lifing Agere. Achoo!
Well, a very good morning to you indeed. We are coming to you live from the Tsing Stadium here in Ventersdorp. And this is where my colleague Lebu and myself will be bringing you the commemoration of the youth of 1976. Now, Ventersdorp is a very interesting location for this sort of commemoration. You'll remember that the Northwest itself was actually a merger of the Transvaal and Bophuthatswana after 1994. Now, there's been a grapple over what to name this province. We know that others already affectionately call it Bokone Buphirima, but that's actually not official. And we have people like J.B. Marks, whose names have been put forward to rename the area, but those things are still not official. But Lebo works in and around this province. Tell us more about what we're likely to hear from the youth from the Northwest, and also about those name changes. I mean, we know that this is infamously known as a right-wing town, knowing that Branch is from here, AWB. Talk to us more about those issues.
Absolutely an interesting location, Soweto. You'd remember that JB Max is a platinum product, as the youth of the province affectionately like to call themselves. He was born here, and we saw his remains in 2015 being brought back to his homeland so that he could rest in peace. Now, that's a very interesting name because the municipality around here has not been named. For now, the temporary name is NW405, but we know that the Ventersdorp municipality, as well as the Tlokwe municipality, there was a lot of controversy around them, and then they merged following the 2016 local government elections. And now there's a process that is taking place to find out where and who the municipality can be named after. And interesting enough, JB Max is one of the names that are very at the top, of this list of names that people are voting for, that that the people of the province would, are much more likely to vote for to be the name of this municipality.
Also talking, come into this location, there's that huge statue of him. People know him, they respect him. He's known as a liberation struggle activist, and just issues around an area such as Ventersdorp. Talk to us about youth issues.
Some of the issues that come to the fore, Soweto, when we talk Ventersdorp is aspects of racial discrimination here and there in Ventersdorp, remembering also that it is a farming town, so a lot of people here are only embroiled in employment.
All right, now as you can see with that link keeps coming and going. That's Olebogen Khosilin, so Soweto Solwandle, SABC reporters out in Ventersdorp, where the main Youth Day celebrations are being hosted. And as you were hearing Olebogen starting to say, Ventersdorp is a farming community, and it's a hot spot for racial discrimination and quite a lot of friction between different members of that community. But having said that, it's been decided that that's the place where the commemoration for 1976, June 16th, will be held. We'll be back with them a little later on. But in the meantime, an art exhibition honouring fallen struggle stalwarts forms part of a Youth Day commemoration held in Motherwell, Port Elizabeth. The exhibition, by Hand in Hand Visual Art Studios, aims to educate youth using portraits of liberation icons.
The theme that runs through this exhibition is Honour the Legend. It is the first of its kind to be held in the township in Port Elizabeth. Brothers Msindis and Sakums Nyandwan have set up the exhibition in a forum RTP house, which they have converted to an art studio. On display, the founder of the PAC, Robert Sobukwe, former President Nelson Mandela during his visit in Port Elizabeth in 1990, Matthew Koniwe, Sparom Kondo, Fort Kalata, and Stelom Shauli, affectionately known as the Craddock Form, composer of the national anthem, Enoch Sondonga, and the iconic image of 1976 Soweto uprising of Hector Peterson.
It's very beautiful because we have a rich history as a South Africa. Everyone wants to visit South Africa because of the rich history. But as the youth of today, we're not focusing on doing the positive things, on sharing what we have as we do, especially in our world, because that is a public art. We want to share our skill with the ones who will follow the skill that we have.
The exhibition also touches on social issues faced by the youth today, such as substance abuse, peer pressure, poverty, and the positives brought by the freedom.
We want to share with our community because what we saw in ourselves, we used to be out there as any youth who grew up in the township, you see. But now, because of what we love and what we do, we are at home and we are busy doing what we love.
Since the opening of the art studio in the township early this year, it has attracted tourists from countries such as Spain, Italy and Germany. The Honour the Legend exhibition will run throughout this month. SABC News in Port Elizabeth.
Those are our stories covering Youth Day celebrations. We will, of course, be carrying on with that theme throughout the day. Now, customs officials have seized a large consignment of rhino horn at the OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg. The confiscated horn, weighing a total of just over 28 kilograms, and arrested a passenger bound for Hong Kong. The seizure was made on Wednesday, just 4 days after customs officials blocked 2 bags containing 10 horns and weighing over 24 kilograms. And the inauguration of Lesotho's Prime Minister-elect Tom Thabane is expected to go ahead today, despite the killing of his estranged wife on Wednesday night. The SABC's facilitator for Lesotho, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, will join regional and international leaders for the ceremony. 58-year-old Dipulelo Thabane was traveling home when she was shot by an unknown assailant near the capital, Maseru. The couple had been living separately pending a divorce. The political situation in Lesotho has been tense since an attempted coup in 2014, and last week's elections were the third in 5 years. Now, former African Union chairperson Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has officially accepted her nomination by the ANC Youth League to succeed President Jacob Zuma as the ANC president. She was speaking at the memorial lecture of former ANC Youth League president Peter Mgaba in Polokwane in Limpopo.
I'm very honored and very humbled. And of course, the great part of my life has been to be of service to the people of South Africa, to our organization, the ANC. So there is no way I can refuse a responsibility given by the ANC.
Okay, well, it seems as if this is where I'm meant to hand over to Elvis. Elvis? Elvis.
Well, thank you, Kendall. Of course, we're celebrating Youth Day and we're talking to the youth and about the youth and the challenges that they face. Now, among the biggest challenges facing today's youth is the high number of unemployment. Now, yesterday we ran that poll and you could see that unemployment is one of the biggest challenges facing this country, especially the youth. And with this year's June 16 theme focusing on the advancing youth economic empowerment, the government has pledged to play an active role in trying to empower young people economically. We remain with this year's 41st anniversary of the Soweto uprisings, and we are now joined in studio by Thulani Tsafula. He is the president of the South African Youth Council to unpack some of the challenges facing the youth of today and some of the solutions. Thulani, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning and good morning to the viewers.
Now, yesterday we ran the very same poll and we asked people the challenges that they are facing, especially young people, and this is what the poll looked like yesterday. As you can see there on your big screen, if we can put it up there for Thulani to see, 784 votes was in. There you can see 74% of the people voting on that poll says that unemployment was the major challenge. HIV/AIDS is 8% and 18% is access to education. What do you make of that, and is that the real thing that we are facing here in this country?
That is the most real thing that we are confronted with. To affirm that, one, the NDP, the National Development Plan, lifted up 2 main challenges in its diagnostics. One was that we have 2 poor educational outcomes in South Africa, despite our investments. Even countries that invest less than South Africa in education achieve better than us in education. Secondly, the NDP diagnostic report alluded to the fact that too few South Africans work, and of the few who are working, we have less and less numbers of young people. So the challenges of unemployment are even more dire for young people. In addition to that, Stats SA undertook a study on the profile of young people in South Africa.
Yes.
And that study shows that we have actually, we have known since 2011, we have entered a demographic window of youth bulge, which means we have a youthful population than any other population group in South Africa, which on its own presents us with opportunities and threats. But further than that, that Stats SA report highlights the fact that there are 3 structural constraints to the progressive development of young people in South Africa.
And what are they?
1 is education. 2, it is skills and employment. 3, You won't believe it. It is race.
Race? Why race?
The report goes further to allude that you struggle to find unemployed young people within the white race. And we have seen even doubling of young Indians who have accessed education and the labor market. And so you still find the poorest amongst African and the colored.
So the doors to education is open. So why is there a problem then in relation to that? Because if you can see what the poll also suggests, education is basically second to unemployment.
It is, but perhaps we should begin to build the relationship between education and employment. And the main issue for us is that we are in a better position than 1993 in terms of access to education. Many young people access education now. They go on from grade 1, and research indicates that we have the largest number of dropouts in grade 10. And what that means is that they leave the education system without being noticed because all our eyes are focused on grade 12. And when they leave the education system, the basic education system at grade 10, they effectively qualify to be captured by the TVET net as a platform where they can acquire what you call occupational and technical skills that are so much required by the economy.
Because the national development requires that exactly, and that is the need that we currently have. So there's a skills gap perhaps there. But let me first go back to your organization, the council that you are heading, the South African Youth Council. What is your role, and how do you contribute to the employment of youth in this country?
Well, the South African Youth Council is an umbrella body of youth organizations in South Africa. You have political youth organizations affiliating to us across board. Across the party line. Yeah. You have student organizations affiliating with us. You have young entrepreneurs in the form of youth chambers of business affiliating with us. You have youth NGOs generally affiliating with the council. So the primary role of the South African Youth Council is to be a center of convergence on those things that unite all young people of South Africa across all the divides. And the South African Youth Council has played a critical role and led the youth sector in the negotiations of the Youth Employment Accord, which has made significant commitments in empowering young people. We also continue to implement certain programs that go to target empowerment of young people. We have a large contingent of young people that we support with bursaries in scarce and critical skills areas, including in TVET colleges. We have a contingent of youth-owned SMMEs that we provide with technical support, some of which we provide with accredited training. Now, as part of our Youth Month, we don't want to be talking only. We will be empowering a group of 21 youth cooperatives. We took these cooperatives from across the country in the most rural of areas. We took them through technical training with Northwest University. They now have accredited training at NQF Level 5 on entrepreneurship. We provided them with hand-holding technical support on the how-to in running their businesses. Now, as part of our Youth Month, we will be converging in Pretoria with all of them. We will be empowering them with tools and equipment such that they can take their businesses to greater heights. So, we also have, lastly, a group of 300 youth-owned SMMEs that we are currently supporting in all 9 provinces of South Africa.
Now that sounds very encouraging because that's the assistance that young people normally need. But there are groups like the Umzumbombo Fund and the National Youth Development Agency. Are you working with them? Are you working together, or do you work in silos? Or is there perhaps cooperation that assisting the youth?
We do work closely with the NYDA. More so, if you take the example I made about our leadership of the Youth Employment Accord, when we led the negotiations of the Youth Employment Accord, we went to sign the accord with a commitment of 2.7 billion rands to support youth cooperatives and youth-owned SMMEs. And we insisted that because that money was sitting with CIFA and IDC, we insisted that the 2 institutions must bring into the party the NYDA, because does have a mandate of supporting young entrepreneurs already, and they have a tripartite arrangement which sees the funding of young entrepreneurs currently.
Mr. Sifula, you would appreciate that there was some issues around the National Development Fund as well as Umsubomvo, and they were criticized for not doing enough to help young people. Is that still the case?
It is the case, because we're asking a wrong question, we are going to get a wrong answer in that discourse. The significant question that we must be asking is, what amount of investments do we need to make in the lives of young people such that we develop a cadre of young people, a generation of young people that will later on in their lives be independent, economically active citizens that are empowered with skills? How do we invest in the lives of young people now such that we divert them from queuing for free housing, free water, free electricity, free healthcare later on in their lives? And we want to argue that one of the opportunities we should leverage is empowering young people with education and skills in large numbers now, such that later on they're able to participate in the economy.
Now, the 2017 Youth Day is commemorated under this theme, Youth and Entrepreneurship. It's a very good theme. Do you think that from that perspective, that is the right theme at this particular point and juncture in our lifetime where we are struggling with youth unemployment?
That is the best theme we can ever have. It is a theme that should not only be limited to the Youth Day and the Youth Month. It should be a rallying call for all focused youth programs for this year and beyond, even if we're to focus for the next 5 years. It is important because, one, we must accept that not all young people in South Africa will be employed. We need a generation of young entrepreneurs who will be positioned as employers to employ other young people. Secondly, we need to leverage on the creativity, on the innovation of young people to establish enterprises that will position solutions to the challenges that we're confronted with in South Africa.
Now, we're asking you a very simple question to a certain degree today to our viewers, because we want to check with them whether or not it is very easy is it easy to start a business, and are there too much red tape within the system in order to start off a new business? Your take on that, and is that the case?
There is too much red tape. Although over the last year we have seen a reduction therein. We have seen the Department of Trade and Industry and its agencies taking an activist approach in encouraging people to apply directly in establishing or registering their businesses instead of using middlemen and women. But what is interesting for this discussion to note is that many people in South Africa, in government, in private sector, in civil society, encourage young people to start businesses. Young people do heed that call. 70% plus of new businesses that are registered in South Africa today are registered by young people. That is 70%. A good story. Plus. And the sad news is that those businesses have a lifespan of no more than 18 months. And then they become dormant, because there is no concerted effort to say, once we encourage you to start a business, what is the additional support that gets to be given such that we leverage on the interest that we have already shown by registering that business and take it to greater heights? If you ask me, there are a few things that we need to do and do right.
And what do we do?
One, entrepreneurship can be taught. We need to mount campaigns on entrepreneurship education. Two, of those who hit the call and start businesses, we need to increase focused interventions on business development support so that those who register their businesses do get support with business plans, do get support with other related business development support services. Three, we need increased funding. Even when some of the initiatives will fail, they need second chances. Four, those young people who take the initiative of starting businesses and go through all these development phases must be linked to market opportunities, to practical business opportunities. I do not see a need why some of the businesses that are given by government should go through a tender instead of affirming young people. And on top of that, there have to be designated economic sectors of the economy that are just delivered by young entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs alone.
Mr. Tsafula, you're speaking my language. Let's take a look at that poll again. We had it up earlier. Let's see if we can get it up again to see what that poll suggests. We're asking, is there too much red tape? 89% of that poll is saying, 83% rather, are saying yes, there's too much red tape to start a small business in South Africa. 17% are saying no. There's 193 votes in, but people are also tweeting us on that particular subject. This one from Debbie says, no, it's not hard. It's as hard or as easy as you can make it. That's that one from Debbie. This one from I Am says, our youth faces drugs and alcohol abuse. They need motivational speakers and business sermons to uplift themselves in economic empowerment. That's exactly what you were saying most of the time. And Londi is saying, groom young people to become entrepreneurs as part of the curriculum. Mentality that you have to serve someone to live must fall, says Londi. Now, he agrees with you, 100% there.
We have a situation that is beginning to challenge the fiber of our society in South Africa. Research shows that those who have grade 12 or less than grade 12 of education are less likely to find employment. Those who have grade 12 have better chances. Those who have post-school qualifications stand even best chances of finding employment in the labor market. But the phenomenon I'm talking about is the phenomenon of unemployed graduates. And what it calls for is that we must then imbue and integrate entrepreneurship into the curriculum. Because these unemployed graduates
the school curriculum at basic level, right?
From school level right up to post-school, because these people are sitting with qualifications, let's say in agriculture, but they are taught that get this qualification, go out there and look for employment. If we were to introduce entrepreneurship as a catalyst, as a game changer, it would change their mindset to say, with the knowledge and skills that I have, how can I start a business that can service the agricultural sector?
How do youngsters, young people get in touch with your organization if they want to empower themselves?
Young people are found by and large in the social media space, and we are happy with the engagements we have with them on Facebook, on Twitter, and we remain South African Youth Council in both platforms.
South African Youth Council.
South African Youth Council.
Sir, I can speak to you the entire day, I promise you, because this is my favorite subject. But thank you so much for coming through and joining us here in studio.
Happy Youth Day. Happy Youth Day.
Now, that was Thulani Tsafula, the president of South African Youth Council. I'm going to ask him to stay a little bit longer, maybe after 10 o'clock when we haven't crossed live yet to the event in Ventersdorp. We will continue this discussion. So we'll ask him to bide with us his time for a little while longer. But right now, let's take a look at what's trending on Twitter today. And we start off with hashtag Youth Day. And we're asking you the question, of course, what does today represent to our youth today as we remember the youth of 1976? A series of protests that happened across the country known as the Soweto uprisings. Many people are honoring the famous veteran and photographer Sam Zuma, who took that historic photograph of Hector Peterson. It is said that Hillary Clinton wanted to buy his camera in 1998, but he was advised not to sell it. Then people are also still talking about the taxi strike that caused absolute chaos on all the major routes into Johannesburg yesterday. They have since then agreed to enter into negotiations with the Taxi Association to determine a better payment system and a rate, since they are being charged 28% on their quantums, resulting in the final payment of 1 million rand per quantum. A quantum taxi is only worth 450,000 rand before interest. Now, there you can see some of the taxis in the taxi strike yesterday. It was absolute chaos. But this Zapiro cartoon was pulled from his archives in the year 2000, and it seems to still make sense 17 years later. Check that cartoon, The Law of the Land. Look at that, and how it takes you from one to the other. Taxi drivers at the end. There. Well, then a preschool in Norwood, Johannesburg had a bit of fun yesterday by making their kids block the road too. Oh, so cute, isn't it? They're blocking the road with their own taxis. They got their own taxi strike there in Norwood. Moving further afield, though, Around 17 people are believed to have died in a fire that engulfed a 27-floor apartment building in London earlier this week. Rescue workers are still searching for more bodies, but after working very long hours, this picture was captured of the hero. And a mosque nearby is collecting those supplies from the city residents and handing it out to all kinds of supplies to those in need. That's the London fire that we're talking about there. Condolences to some of those people that died in that fire. Now, our picture of the day comes from Vision Tactical, and it is a quote from the great Nelson Mandela, who said, "Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be great or can be a great generation. Let your greatness blossom." That's a quote there from the great Nelson Tata Madiba. Now, the comment of the day comes from Val Schooler's DJ, Tribes Oceans, who says, "It's been 41 years since 1976, June 16. Before we go out and celebrate, can we take a moment of silence and remember our heroes?" Good take on that one. Hashtag Youth Day. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back after that with more.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM News Live at 1000 hours across all Central Africa regions.
A fitting send-off for a revolutionary giant. A life dedicated in service of the people.
The result means that the Swallows are out of the ABC Multiple League and drop to the amateur fourth tier of South African football, the SAB League.
Tune in on AM News every Saturday and Sunday from 10 hours. If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Youth Day 2017. Now, recent figures by Stats SA indicate a massive youth unemployment rate in the country. More than 5 million young people in the country are reported to be unemployed, with 3.7 million of them actively looking for work. In addition, the Global Competitiveness Report of 2014 and 15 has found that South Africa's rate of entrepreneurial activity is very low for a developing nation. So, what is the role then of youth entrepreneurship in turning things around? To discuss this, we are joined by Lebo Gunguluza, a renowned entrepreneur, and Zanele Zulu, a promising entrepreneur. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Lebo, first and foremostly to you, as an entrepreneur of note, why is entrepreneurship an important factor and perhaps the ultimate goal for all South Africans?
I think entrepreneurship gives you freedom. But it comes at a price. And the price that you have to pay is that you have to learn to build something, you have to learn to service people, and you have to learn to add value to society. So those things are very important because you've got two choices of entrepreneurship when you trying to survive. It's either it's negative entrepreneurship or positive entrepreneurship. Negative is the one where you go and take someone's things and you grab money, you do whatever you have to do to survive. But positive entrepreneurship is where you groom young people in the society, you help them in the ways to find solutions for society so they can add value in order to sustain themselves.
Now that's exactly what you've done. You're starting to groom people, and Zanele is one of those cohorts. Before we get to Zanele, tell us about that particular program and how did Zanele get there?
Yes, when I was young, I made a deal with myself. I said to myself at the age of 25, because I had such a tough upbringing and I didn't really like the last 20 years of my life, I said at 25 I want to become a millionaire, 35 I want to become a multimillionaire, and at 45 a billionaire. Now, obviously, life took me wherever it took me, but I think the most important thing is that I reached the 2 goals, but this third goal, I said, what does it help me to be rich by myself or to make money by myself? Why don't I bring the youth of South Africa, because there's so much unemployed youth, and teach them also how to get to where I am? And I started a program called 12-12-12, where I promised myself that I will choose 12 entrepreneurs every 12 months, and they will run companies with me.
Yes.
And Sandile was one of those who qualified to become part of the program. And funny enough that Sandile reached one of the most exciting goals, which was exciting for my program, because I taught them what I knew, and he managed to use the skills that I taught him very, very well. And he made his first million at the age of 25.
I want to talk about that first million. Talk to us about that first million. Was it tough? Was it hard?
Yeah, I think it was most probably the hardest part of my life, because I think for every entrepreneur, when you find a mentor like Mr. Kunguluza here, you expect that they'll give you the money, they'll spoon feed you. And I mean, there's many entrepreneurs that had joined the program, and some of them dropped out because basically they found it tough. They thought Mr. Kunguluza would give them all the money they needed. But what he taught us actually was the tools of how to make the money, not to give us the money, because many entrepreneurs and many young entrepreneurs, what they want from their mentors is they just want money. They see that you're a millionaire or that you're successful. The first thing they ask you is that, how much can you give me? Instead of how much can you teach me? Because for him, what he taught me goes beyond the money that I've made with when I was working with him as well and part of the program. And for me, information sustains you beyond what a mentor can also, help you with.
Teach a man to fish, and of course you sustain him
and
for a
that's
lifetime.
Exactly
but what did you do exactly?
Yeah, and I think part of the things that I learned from him was basically the main things about business. I always say to people when I speak about him is that he taught me everything I know about business. From starting a business, from running a business, managing a business, the practicality of business. Getting into a meeting and seeing how he does sales. The sales strategy. We would sit down and have a strategy. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we are those people that say we'll see when we get there. But he taught me how to plan your things.
Yes.
I mean, even part of the program, we had even launched a book called Part of the Plan. On how to plan your things for your business. So those are one of the things that I learned from him.
What business are you into, and how did you manage to get to that million? Because that's the practical things that I'm talking about right now. So what sort of business are you into?
Our business is called Tosaka Media Group. It's a marketing and communications business. And I remember that he gave me the blessings to say, my chief, you are ready now to go on your own. After being a part of his program. And then by the time I went on my own, he kept on checking up on me to say, is things still running well? And that's I think the grace of mentorship. I always say to people that the number one goal, because I had failed in 5 businesses, by the way, before I met him.
5 businesses?
Yes, he tried many businesses.
I tried so many businesses, and then I realized at a later stage that the one thing I was lacking was mentorship. And therefore, it was like God has just given me a mentor, because then after I'd met him, then the business that I started was actually a success.
We asked on our poll today about red tape to start a small business, and the overwhelming, and if we can look at that poll, if we can get it up there quickly, 193 votes, and 83% are saying yes, there's too much red tape to start a small business in South Africa. Is that your experience?
Yeah. I think to some extent it's true, but I would say that most of the people that would have said yes to that question are also the ones that are waiting for government to do things for them.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that by the time we did get the business and I did get a mentor, we didn't get any government funding, any government business. It was practicality. And I always say to people that he taught me well that to say your number one funder must be your customers. And most entrepreneurs, they don't want the customers, they want government funding. And many of them don't even understand the criteria that government wants to fund. So they go there with ideas. Some of the government institutions are not looking for just ideas, but they're looking for sustainable business solutions.
Mr. Kunguluza, coming back to you, what are the sort of skills that young people today need in order to progress in this country?
I think the most important skill is obviously the technical skill is extremely important. I mean, the last part of the 12-12-12 program for me was to look for people who are highly skilled. And these skills are not skills that are difficult to learn. Most of them you can even learn them from the internet, from YouTube. I mean, YouTube has got a wealth of information. So you can learn to design. You can learn to actually what you call edit videos. You can learn to do an app. There's so many skills that you can learn, especially in the technology space. And what I like about the technology space is that whatever you do is scalable. So if you build something online, you do it all over the world. For example, I've got a website that was built by one of the young people who are part of the program called the Izani Lounge. The Izani Lounge has listed all the major events in the country, and you can book them from anywhere in the world and come attend South African events. I mean, and it is something that he built, and it's such a success. So most people think that you have to have a physical business in order to actually run a business. You don't have to. You can also be a middleman. You're allowed to be a middleman. You're allowed to own a market. So you can own a market and sell your market to a particular product owner. But the most important thing is to own the market, because that means you've got access to a market that someone else does not, and you make your commission. And most big companies are in that space. You talk about brands that are in the liquor space. They own markets, but all the big brands who own those liquors, those actual alcohol brands, they go via that channel so they can reach markets. So you don't have to own the product. So there are very important skills, but the most important skill to have is to lock yourself within a particular market and own a market that you can sell to anyone.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And we'll speak again when you make your next million. That was Lebo Gongoluza. He's a renowned entrepreneur and, of course, a new millionaire, Zanele Zulu, here in studio. Promising entrepreneur joining us. But right now, for more on what's currently happening on the ground, we are joined by our reporter, Leboheng Kotzilenzwe. She is in Ventersdorp. Lebo, very good morning to you and welcome.
Welcome once again, Elvis. Indeed, we are at the Ching Sports Ground right here in Ventersdorp, where we will be seeing commemorations of Youth Day celebrations taking place here today. And it's very interesting and pleasing to see that the majority of the people who are continuing to arrive here today are the people that we are speaking about and speaking to today. I'm talking about the youth. They're coming from all areas in the province, different towns in the province, to really come and hear what the president has to say to them, and also to take something home as well, to take something that they can go back, implement it in their lives. But for now, I'm joined here by two students from Keledi Secondary School, all the way from Rustenburg Municipality in Phokeng. I'm going to first speak to Kelezo. Kelezo, please tell me, gore wena jaka o le mosha o tle go dirang fa le gore o solofela gore mo president Jacob Zuma fa goroga o tla le ra a reng jaka basha
ke solofela gore re mo president wa rona o tle gore bolella ka challenge le gore re le bagane le yona ya gore challenge eo ke gore bana ga ba tsena go dikolong ba dirisa diritibatsi ene e sentse se se monate ka gonne bana ga ba thomolla ba dirisa diritibatsi ba dropa out mo di school results tsa bona, and which is why re sa khone go na le di 100% pass ya rona ka di results di tswa tsa December. So I think if president agara bolela rona as basha, I think cause president rona ke motho ene gore wa respectiwa, so ke nagana gore ge ke ene a bua gongwe so se ka fokotsega ya nna gore ga se le challenge mo maphelong a rona.
Jano wena jaka mosha fa o no o ka bona basha ba lwetseng kgololesego ka 1976 ke bua ka botsietsi mashinini bo Seth Mazibuko bo Hector Peterson o no ka bara o reng gompieno
gona no nka bara ke bara gore ke a leboga ka se ba se diretseng ka gonne re gololosegile gona no nka ntla gore ga se le gona ha se le re rutwa ka Afrikaans ko sekolong ene re phasa pila ka dumela seo re rutwa pila ene ke re phasa pila ko sekolong.
Now, Elvis, Kelezo was just telling me about his hopes from the president's speech, telling us that where he comes from in his area, as soon as the youth reach puberty or teenage level, they start using drugs and they start, there's some of the kids, playing free there. They start using drugs and they start taking part, dropping out of school. And he really hopes that one of the messages from the president will be in how that is going to be addressed. But he says if he were to send a message to those heroes and heroines who fought for the struggle back in 1976, he would say a big thank you to him, because now he no longer has to study. He has never, in fact, studied in Afrikaans. But I'll move on now to Lesego, who's our next guest from the same secondary school. Lesego, wena jaka mosha o dira eng go netefatsa gore o fetola botshelo jwa gago, o fetola le matshelo a basha ba bangwe ba ba mo tikologong ya gago?
nna ke thusa bašwa ba bangwe ka go ba thusa ba ba dikobo dikhutshwane ke a ba thusa jaaka ko sekolong re tsenetse group ya maretse ya go thusa bašwa ba rona and nna ke thusa ka go nna ke utlwelela batsadi and ga ba ntha ba re ke seke ka tsamaya bosigo ga ke tsamaye so ke ruta le bašwa ba bangwe gore le bone ba seke ba dira dilo tse di tswileng mo tseleng ba tshwane le nne.
That's Lesego saying that she's involved in programs that are helping to uplift the youth in her area. With that, let me now cross over to my colleague Nomawethu Solwandle to find out what is happening on her side. Nomawethu?
Well, thank you very much for that, Lebu. Indeed, those are some very interesting views coming from the youth of this province. And I must say, Lebu, it's so much more than just teenage pregnancy, unemployment, drugs, and alcohol. You'll remember that in the State of the Province address, the Premier of this province actually said that another huge challenge that they deal with in this province is that the towns are so fragmented, and the youth actually struggle to actually go to other towns. They don't have money to go look for jobs and to sell their services. And this is something that our guest now, Siyabonga Magatla, has actually looked at. He actually has a magazine called The Journey, where he's focused on youth issues that are affecting the youth of South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us, Siyabonga. Tell us more about the magazine called The Journey and why it was necessary for you to have something like this, or for the youth of South Africa to be entitled to something like this.
Very good morning to you and your viewers. The Journey was established or launched in June 2016 as part of the commemoration of the 40th anniversary of June 16. Now, the intention or the aim is promoting access to information. You would know that one of the biggest challenges that continue to face young people is lack of access to information. And sometimes you find that opportunities are there, they exist, but it's the manner in which young people are able to access, or rather not able to access those opportunities.
Now, Siyabonga, where does a magazine like this go to? You know, Ventersdorp or the Northwest is largely a rural area, and that's where information is lacking. So where do you take these magazines?
When we conceptualized the publication, The Journey, our aim was to reach out to young people, especially in disadvantaged backgrounds, rural settings like Ventersdorp, as you clearly say, because a challenge that young people in these areas face is that they lack motivation, they lack career information, they lack information on opportunities that they can access. As a result, they get demotivated because they see no opportunity beyond their depressing environments. So we always control our distribution and go to schools, we go to TVET colleges, we go to universities. But our primary focus is high school learners in rural and disadvantaged backgrounds.
Now, Siyabonga, just also, if I were to page through the Journey magazine, what kind of information am I going to find? And also, who are you working with to ensure that the information is precise and it's exactly what the youth needs?
We've got a combination of issues that relates to youth development, a range of issues from career information, A to Z of careers. We also profile a number of young people across the country who are doing different initiatives in different areas where they are found: economy, health-related issues, education, and we've worked with a number of sector education and training authorities, which are shortly referred to as SETAs. We've worked with the transport SETA, we've worked with the energy and water SETA, we're currently working with fiber processing and manufacturing SETA, and these are entities that are playing a huge role in terms of skills development, in ensuring that young people acquire the necessary skills. So these SETAs have played a very significant role in making sure that the journey becomes a reality and that we're able to go out and do outreach work and reach out to young people to have access to this critical information.
Now, Siyabonga, it's been 41 years since we saw those tragic pictures from places like Soweto. In 2017, we meet here. You've got this magazine. What are you hoping to get out of this gathering as someone who has this magazine?
You know, one of the things that I think is important to highlight is the uniqueness of the struggle of the class of 1976. I remember when we launched the publication in June last year, we invited one of the young people who participated in the protest march of 76, Mr. Seth Mazibuko. And one of the things that he commended us on was that the publication relates very well with the struggle that they engaged in, because in the main, issues of education were central in 1976. We still cannot overemphasize the need and the importance of ensuring that young people are encouraged to pursue career opportunities, to study, to empower themselves, because even if you go into the area of business, even if you become an entrepreneur, it's important to make sure that you acquire the necessary levels of education. Yes.
Now, very lastly, Siyabonga, I know that, anything youth-related, funding is always an issue. How can we get around this?
Look, I think government has covered fairly good ground in terms of ensuring that young people get access to issues of funding. There are institutions like the NYTA, CIFA, NEF, and others. But it remains a challenge, you're correct. Young people still cannot access economic opportunities. They find it difficult to establish businesses. I think the environment in the country needs to be more allowing, such that young people are encouraged to start their own businesses. We need to cut the red tape. We need to ensure that what political principals speak about, when they speak about economic access, it filters down to those who are in the administration in terms of government, to make sure that they open the doors for young people to access opportunities, particularly when it comes to funding. Because entrepreneurship is indeed one of the greatest engines for the development and the growth of our economy.
Thank you very much for your time. Well, that was Mr. Siyabonga Magadla, who is the founder and the editor of a magazine called The Journey. He says his magazine primarily focuses on the fact that in rural areas such as Ventersdorp, there's always a lack of information for young people. And this is why we see the lack of motivation. We see young people getting pregnant. We see young people dropping out of school because they don't have that essential or that kind of information that is going to take them places. Now we see that scores of young people are starting to arrive here at the venue where we will be remembering the youth of 1976. Now we know that the program is going to start at around 11 o'clock this morning, and just after 11, President Jacob Zuma is likely going to take to the podium to deliver that keynote address. But with that, it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Soweto Solwandle. Live in Ventersdorp now, 10 o'clock. We'll go there live. The president is about to speak there at that event, the June 16 celebrations, and we'll go there live. But it has been established that the youth can play a significant role in turning the high unemployment levels around. A group of young people have identified health and well-being as a stepping stone to a prosperous life as a young person. How do they go about achieving this? To find out more, we are joined by Navisha Becken Sefrukan, or Sekuran, from the, she's from Corporate and Government Affairs at Mondelez, South Africa. Very good morning to you and welcome.
Hi Elvis, lovely being with you this morning.
First and foremost, tell me about your organization and what do you do?
Sure, so Mondelez International is a global snacking company, and in South Africa we bring you global brands such as Cadbury Dairy Milk, Oreos, Dentine, Stimorol, and of course our local favorites Lunch Bar and Chappies.
Okay.
So as part of the Mondelez International Foundation, we have been working together with our partners in Med Partnerships for Children, and we have brought through a project which is valued at 37 million rands over a 4-year period. And it is really all about focusing on health. And it's a health in action program where we really want to get into 116 schools in Johannesburg and in Port Elizabeth and impact about 120,000 kids' lives. And we're going to do this in a threefold way. We're going to look at healthy nutrition education. We're going to look at giving these kids access to fresh foods and then getting them active, getting them up and running and playing.
Now that is very important because a healthy diet always assists with a child's upbringing, right? So tell us about the project itself and how did it start?
Fantastic. So the project started late in 2015. So we're almost hitting the 2-year mark on the project. And what we're doing is we're getting into these schools. We are educating the teachers. We are putting them through a program where they have access to information in terms of nutrition education, and they go about then imparting that knowledge onto their children. So we're looking at kids between the ages of 6 and 12. And I think that's an ideal age to get these kids, because we get them young, we educate them, we get them knowledgeable, and those principles they carry through their lives and into their adulthood.
You call it the Break Time Buddies Initiative. Why is that?
So the Break Time Buddies Initiative is a part of the entire program. And as part of the Break Time Buddies, we've identified 28 youth. And these are kids that have completed matric and completed high school, but haven't been able to qualify for tertiary education, nor have they been able to get access to the formal employment sector. So we've taken these 28 kids. We've given them both formal and practical skills in becoming what we call break time buddies, and they go into the schools on a regular basis and they assist the teachers, but more importantly they get involved during the break times at schools and teach the children about how to play safely, how to get around and moving, what's the most effective way for them to move and to keep active. So it's giving employment to these kids, but also really empowering the kids within the schooling system to have access to good break time education.
That's a fantastic initiative. Are you rolling it out only in Johannesburg and PE for now?
Yes, so the program will be run in PE in Johannesburg, and that's primarily because as Mondelez South Africa, we have our head office here in Johannesburg, and we have a manufacturing facility in Port Elizabeth. And we felt that from an employee perspective, it was important to get our people involved in the project. So be where our people, our employees are, get them to own and be part of the project. In Port Elizabeth, for example, we worked with the trade union team there to identify schools that the kids of our employees attend. So we're getting the program into a space where our employees can feel proud, but our children of our employees can also benefit.
Now, you talked about letting young people know about how to eat healthy. But what sort of healthy food are we talking about?
So we're talking about a proper balanced diet. We're talking about giving them access to fruit and vegetables.
How are they going to get that? Fruit and vegetables?
Sure. So what we have done as a part of the program, as I said earlier, was giving them access to fruit and vegetables. And in schools, we have food gardens going. In Port Elizabeth, we recently launched an aquaponics facility, and this is really very exciting because aquaponics is a combination of fish and agricultural farming. It is a phenomenal project with great innovation. It uses the phosphates that the fish give off to water plants on a grow bed. The water is filtered and it goes back into the fish tanks. So it's a round system.
So it's a circulation system, so you don't lose water, the fish get water and the fish give water to the plants.
Absolutely. We get vegetables growing a lot faster, a lot healthier. We are saving water, electricity, because we use solar. So it's a really phenomenal project.
And it's only in Port Elizabeth at this point.
So the aquaponics plant is in Port Elizabeth, but we are building a facility here in Johannesburg, in Soweto, and that we will launch later this year.
How big is the aquaponics farm, and how many people can you then feed through this system?
So it is a fairly substantial setup. Whatever vegetables we get out of the farm, we use in the schools. So it depends on what crop is growing at the time. But we get a fair amount of crops growing at any given point. And that is used to feed about 20 to 30 schools in the vicinity of the facility.
20 to 30 schools in the area. That is absolutely phenomenal.
This supplements their normal nutrition in the meals that they get from their school. So it's ensuring that there is something healthy in their diet. There is some spinach or lettuce going into their meals. We found recently with the first harvest from the plant, we had lettuce and peppers and spinach and things. And when we took it to schools, some of the kids were actually amazed to see lettuce for the first time. They didn't know what to do with the product. So some of them for the first time had access to eating certain types of foods like lettuce and peppers, which is phenomenal. And I mean, it sets them up for their adulthood. It's something that they will always remember and take out from the education.
Who take care then of the aquaponics? Is it part of the buddies, what do you call it, the lunchtime buddies, or is it somebody that knows what to do?
So in Port Elizabeth, we have our facility at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. The team in Med, who is our partner, they look after the facility, but a great aspect of another part of the program is that we have students from the university who come through and actually do research and maintains the facility. We have a master's student at the facility at the moment who runs it, and he's doing his research on how to actively promote healthy eating and get crops from a system like an aquaponics facility on a commercial scale.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. Can this be duplicated in other areas?
Absolutely. I think it definitely can be duplicated. InMed has been pioneering this project across the country. There are a number of facilities that they have opened, and definitely it's a sustainable facility. It's an opportunity to teach and learn. So there's lots of benefits from this.
I thank you so much for joining us here in studio.
Thanks, Elvis. Lovely being with you.
That was Novisha Bechem-Sukaran. Hope I got that right, from the Corporate and Government Affairs at Mondelez here in South Africa. Mondelez South Africa, that is the brand. Talking to us about healthy eating. What a lovely project that is. Maybe we can duplicate that throughout the country. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after that with your news.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
On June 16, 1976, about 10,000 students took to the streets of Soweto to march against being taught in Afrikaans.
Nobody expected that this is going to be a big thing, because it was just a students' march. The student was just going to register their concern.
Their protest ended with a bloody standoff between them and the police.
I didn't think that they were going to be that worse. The least that they could have done, yes, it was to give us a whip, not shoot bullets and kill us.
On June 16, join us on the SABC News channel, as well as your favorite SABC radio station, as we journey through Orlando West and celebrate the heroes of 1976. This June, SABC News celebrates our youth.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Now, President Jacob Zuma will deliver the keynote address at Ventersdorp today. That is when the town hosts the National Youth Day celebrations. The Northwest town is home to the late AWB leader Eugene Terblanche and struggle icon J.B. Marks.
Ventersdorp, the town is known for having been the home of those who opposed the demise of apartheid. And it would seem that even after more than 20 years into democracy, more is still to be done to correct the past.
This is where the house, basically, of where racism was a huge factor with the passing on of Eugene Terblanche. The circumstances in which he was murdered was racially motivated. So we are still left with some of his followers.
Ventersdorp has also produced heavyweights such as J.B. Marks, who contributed significantly to South Africa achieving its freedom. June 16 celebrations are expected to be led by President Jacob Zuma. The day will be commemorated under the theme, The Year of OR Tambo, Advancing Youth Economic Empowerment. They are also hoping that the June 16 celebrations will draw attention to the town's current challenges.
The things that we want in Ventersdorp, more especially a college,
and the other high school so that Tutobusa can be a secondary school and create more jobs for young people.
Silwane Khachau, SABC News, Ventersdorp.
Now on Youth Day, June the 16th, residents of Soweto are having a double celebration. The June 16th Youth Development Foundation, in collaboration with the Seth Mazibuko Legacy Foundation, will celebrate the 85th anniversary of the establishment of Orlando East and the 41st anniversary of the Soweto June 16 uprising. Various activities have been planned for the rest of the day. Now, for the latest, we go live to our SABC reporter, Palesa Chubisi. A very good morning to you, Palesa. Can you tell us what we can expect from the celebrations there in Orlando East today?
Well, Elvis, it's a very good morning to you, of course, and a very good morning to our viewers. As you rightfully said, we are still from Orlando East in Orlando, Soweto, of course, for the leg of a of the June 16, 1976, as we look back to the activities that happened then. So we are at Seth Mazibuko's house here in Orlando. This house in a short while will be converted into a national heritage site. So that is the event that is about to take place now. So since this morning, we've seen the program unfolding from a wreath-laying ceremony at Orlando Stadium to a memorial lecture at DOCC Hall. Now we are at his house. But just to find how he feels about this proud moment, I believe, let me just have a chat with Seth Mazibuko. A lot of people will remember him. He's one of the organizers for the 1976 march. He is, of course, the chancellor for the June 16 Youth Development Foundation and the Seth Mazibuko Foundation. Good morning to you once again, and thank you so much for giving us your time once again.
Well, good morning. It has been a long day.
I believe. Just for the benefit of someone who was not watching from Morning Live early in the morning, take us through the program as to how everything unfolded today.
We started early in the morning at the Orlando Stadium and laying 3 wreaths. And these were representing the 85 year. One was representing 85 years of Orlando East, and it was representing the father of Soweto, James Sofasonke Mbanza. And then after that, we moved to DOC. The other one was representing the youth today, and then the other one was representing the youth of 1976 who could not reach Orlando Stadium, who were killed by Amabunu. And we came to a point now where we moved to Orlando DOCC. We were showing our young people and speaking to our young people about what happened there. On the 13th of June, a decision to march on the 16th of June was taken at Orlando DOCC. So we had a moment there also to remember all the young people that planned June 16 there. Actually, was elected there. And then from there we moved to Baba Victor Nkabinde's house. Baba Victor Nkabinde is, spent 20 years on Robben Island, and when some of us as little boys were coming to Robben Island, we found him there, and then we had to acknowledge him, and we gave him the South African flag.
What's the significance of the South African flag that was presented to Babu Nkabinde?
It was that the nation is acknowledging him, and it was that he fought for this nation. There might have been no one to acknowledge him, but to us, particularly as this community, he's a figure that needs to be acknowledged, even if history, can push him back. But to us, it is very important to have him, feeling part of this South Africa that he fought for.
Right, and he stays just a few blocks away from your house.
Actually, this is Vilakazi Street, a new one.
I see. It has become a hive of activities. Let me just have a chat with you, Ntate Nkabinde. How does the day make you feel?
I don't know what to say. Because, this pushed me back to the 1963 when we got arrested. And then the reason behind it was to fight for our country, to bring dignity to our nation, which was regarded as boys and girls. So
Well, the 41st anniversary, we've lost that that link there to reporter. We'll see if we can get that line back and find out what Seth Mathabuko have got to say. Of course, that house is going to be turned into a place where you can go to and reflect back to 1976. That's his house. We'll also cross to our other reporter there, Desiree Chauke, a little bit later at the Orlando East celebrations to find out what's going on. But we continue with our conversation on the issue of youth and youth empowerment. And you know, earlier, if you didn't follow it, Thulani Tsefula is the president of the South African Youth Council, was here to unpack some of the challenges facing today's youth and some of the solutions thereof. And Thulani, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us for the time being. So how are you celebrating as the Youth Council the day today with youth?
Well, we are joining the main activities of the Youth Day in Ventersdorp. Mm-hmm. And secondly, we have pockets of activities in different parts of the country that are led by the different provincial structures of the Youth Council. So it's a buzz with activities. Mm-hmm. But what we have chosen as the South African Youth Council as an approach to commemorate and celebrate the Youth Month is that it must have elements of moments of reflection about generations that came before us. We should use the Youth Month as a moment of reflection about what are the challenges and the likely solutions to those. But more than that, we should ask ourselves a critical question of what is our role of being of service to our communities, such that whilst we demand opportunities for our benefit, we equally position ourselves as part of the solution in addressing the challenges of our communities.
Now, we've talked about one of the biggest challenges, and that was unemployment, but what other challenges have you identified that confront the youth of today?
You know, we can have education, we can have skills, we can have employment, we can have young entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. All those glorious ideas and opportunities are staring in the face an evil of abuse of drugs by young people. Mm. And that is one big and even bigger challenge that can erode what is left of our young people in South Africa. And I think it is a challenge that we have to combine efforts as a society as a whole to address the challenge. Mm-hmm.
Now, young people are looking for those opportunities, and we've seen them, and we know that there's a huge unemployment rate in this country, especially affecting the youth. What is the first step that one should do? Finding yourself in a location somewhere where there's no opportunities, like a Ventersdorp, where we're having the celebrations today. What is the first steps for that young person?
The first thing that should be a point of interface between young people and the opportunity is information. Because information will then enable and enlighten that young person on what are the next points of action that they need to take. Mm-hmm. Let me further qualify my point about access to information. There is a lot of information that is taken out there. Mm-hmm. Even if you were to go to the stadium today, there in Ventersdorp, yes, you are going to find agencies of government and probably, if you are lucky, private sector that will be distributing information pamphlets. But in most instances, that tends to be for malicious compliance. Mm-hmm. That tends to be a leverage of a marketing opportunity. That is a branding opportunity for those institutions. Mm-hmm. What we need with information is more information linked to action. Mm-hmm. And when we provide information, we must be readily available and willing to provide information, and also extending a hand to provide hand-holding support to those young people every step of the way in the actions that they need to take to access those opportunities.
I really like that. That's Thulani Tsefula, the president of the South African Youth Council, here in studio with us. But we've lost that link a little bit earlier. Let's go back to our reporter, Palesa Chibisi, who is in Orlando East, talking to Seth Mathabuko. Once again, a very good morning to you, Palesa.
Well, thank you so much, Elvis. I believe everything is up and running right now. Let us just wrap up things here in Orlando, here in Soweto. And as I said earlier on that the house will be converted into a National Heritage Site, we're just going to take a few steps up just to take a look at the plaque. It hasn't been officially unveiled, but we're just going to give you a glimpse. It is illegal, it is, but we're just going to, give our viewers a glimpse of what is contained here. I'm just going to ask you to open it a little bit and... there you are. All right, I'm just going to quickly read here. This site has been a base for planning struggles against apartheid. So this is where the meetings were held.
We used to do all the underground work here. There's a comrade of mine, Vincent Dumas. We used to also meet here. And so this house can explode anytime. Be careful.
I see that. And it also remained under surveillance by the security branch during the 1976 June and even beyond that period.
Yes, we had a lot of time when my parents could not even stay. Sometimes they run away, mainly because my home will be, because this is my parents' house more than my house.
And it's amazing because you were the youngest member of the planning committee there, and you were only 16 when everything happened. How do you feel if you were just to look back at how things have unfolded ever since the dawn of democracy?
Palisa, I have a problem. When we fought and when Solo Mahlangu said the tree of liberation shall be watered by the blood of the martyrs, we were expecting that these young people are going to enjoy the fruit of that tree. We're expecting them, if at least they cannot enjoy the fruit, at least let them enjoy the shade of the tree. But what do we have? We don't have much. Maybe we have the Guptas enjoying the fruit of the tree. And I have a problem with that. And I'm saying our young people, our gogos and all that, let them please enjoy the fruit. And if our government can try to do that, we can be very happy.
All right, now we've run out of time, but what is likely to happen? We know that this was not supposed to have happened, but
over the work of the MMC. The MMC is going to unveil this plaque, and this plaque, as you can see, is part of the June 16 Soweto Heritage Trail. There are schools, for instance, that are under the same trail. There is also other projects that are going on under the same, so they'll be doing that.
So you're officially handing it over to...
I no more have a house, it's the community house now. They've evicted me.
How does it make you feel? I mean, this is the place where you grew up.
Very humbled. And my father, my grandparents, and then after my grandparents, then my father. And what makes me happy is that this was also a church for my whole mission. So now it has been quite active, so I'm not doing anything wrong by handing it over to the...
So there are indeed beautiful memories of the house. Well, let's leave it at that. What happens from here? Is this the end of the program for today?
From here, Saibono and June 16 Youth, we are taking all the young people. Some of them are already there. They are having a talk, a dialogue on new dimensions and new living. So we will be there. And then from there, there's a Wits University and ourselves, and there's a Seth Masibuko June 16 lecture that is coming in. And then tomorrow, the program goes on. There's going to be a visit to my cell in Cornhill. When I was arrested here, I was taken to a cell in Cornhill. So there's going to be a visit to that cell.
Well, I believe, that's where we leave it for now. Thank you so much and all the best for the remainder of the day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, that's where we leave it for this morning live from Orlando here in Soweto. But like Ubab Mazibuka has said, the program continues. So if you are in Soweto, you are welcome to join the proceedings as they continue. Well, that's it, Elvis. It's back to you in studio.
Well, there you have it from Palesa. She's coming to us live from Orlando here in Soweto. Of course, very important house there of Seth Masibuko there today. We'll also cross to our other reporter, Ole Boheng. She's in Ventersdorp in a short while. But we continue our conversation with Chulani Tafuta. Now, that's where we fixed it a little bit earlier. He's the president of the South African Youth Council, to unpack some of the challenges that we face now. Offline, Tulani, we were talking about the issues confronting the youth, and we were referring to Ventersdorp and some of the stories that came out of that just prior to the celebrations today, and the dire situation that the youth find themselves there. There's no jobs. There's absolutely nothing that they can look forward to when they wake up the next day.
Part of the solution must be to encourage the very same young people. Whilst they voice out their challenges, solutions still reside with them. They must be encouraged to find solutions to those challenges with the most minimum support that can be given by government and the private sector. Equally important is to appreciate, support, and encourage self-initiative by young people. In areas like we have seen in Ventersdorp and many other rural areas and towns, is that we find a development trajectory that has an already cut size of development programs that says to young people, these are the program offerings we have. You must fit into this or you lose out. Instead, we should change the design of our youth development programs such that it first and foremost appreciate the circumstances in which those young people find themselves in their communities. Secondly, it must be youth development programs that appreciate the different status of young people in as far as education, such that we do not have youth development programs that are only focused for those who have grade 12. What about those who do not have? Even those who have tried and failed? What about those who have dropped out earlier in school? Such that the interventions that are designed seek to promote self-initiative by linking young people to local economic development imperatives in the areas where they are.
And it's identifying those opportunities within your locality.
Within the same localities.
Does the skill gap that we currently have and the youth development programs that you're talking about, is there a link between that and the national development plan of the country?
There has to be. Otherwise, we are going to have a situation where the national development plan can be implemented, but it will be implemented by others for us. We are going to depend on external and international skills to implement all the noble ideas that are entailed in the NDP. So what do we have to do with skills is that for every project that is to be implemented, let's say infrastructure development, there has to be a concerted effort of understanding what are the skills requirements that will be needed to deliver on those projects, and then use the time leading to the implementation of those projects to build those local skills. Use the actual implementation of the projects to employ large numbers of young people such that they can acquire skills for those projects, which means in advance. Use those projects to empower young people with skills through those projects, which means during the implementation of those projects. Use those projects to empower young people with skills such that later on, after the completion of those projects, the very same local young people are better placed to maintain the same infrastructure that they shall have participated in building. Yesterday, I argued in one platform that one of the reasons why it is so easy for anyone, including young people, when we protest, we ban infrastructure, it is because we do not have our fingerprints in the building and the delivery of those infrastructure buildings. If we were to be directly involved in delivering those, we would guard them jealously because they shall be the sweat of our works.
Now, we are conducting that poll, and we looked at that poll a little bit earlier when we asked the question, is there too much red tape? And you've agreed with that there is. 84% of the people in South Africa as well as the African continent are suggesting that yes, there is. 16% are saying no. There's 211 votes in. And there's people also tweeting us around that because there are challenges that the youth are finding it very hard to get. But if we take a look at that question, what are then the steps that people need to take, considering your organization, the council? What should they do in order to minimize those challenges that they face in relation to red tape?
The first thing is that we must continue to advocate for practices that are in favor of people. What we should do is that, as a matter of principle, there are guidelines that should be introduced in the delivery of projects. One is that they must all have low entry barrier. Two, they must have visible signs of high impact. Three, all development programs must be taken to scale, which means they must benefit larger numbers of young people. And lastly, these projects and development interventions must increase their reach, including to reach small towns like Ventersdorp, small towns like Kredok, where I come from, and many other rural areas. And so when we then design regulations, they must not be for how nice does it sound to access this program. But they must be designed in such a way that they make it easy for people to access those programs and continue with their lives.
Sir, once again, I thank you so much for joining us here in studio, and all the best of luck on June the 16th.
Happy Youth Day.
That was Thulani Tsafuta, the president of the South African Youth Council, here in studio with us. But right now we're asking you that question, of course, is there red tape? Let's take a look at some of those comments. This one coming from Malibongwe says, I'm not celebrating because youth sold their powers and allowed themselves to be used by some politicians for their benefits. Barry Martin says, there's nothing to celebrate on Youth Day because when it comes to Youth Day, then it's all about blacks, nothing else. Why, Barry, why? Rambo says, nothing to celebrate. Short and sweet. Those are some of the comments on the question that we posed to you. What are you celebrating today here on Youth Day? Let's now go back to Ventersdorp in the northwest, where our reporter Soweto Sowandle is standing by with the Deputy Minister in the Presidency Monitoring and Evaluation, Buti Manamela.
Welcome back to Ventersdorp, where we're talking everything youth related. Well, things are starting to get underway here. We see scores of young people coming in. But I think the most important thing that's going to come out of this event here today is that 41 years, what have we achieved as a country and where do we still see the challenges? Joining me now to talk to us more about this is the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Mr. Buti Manamela. Sir, those scenes that we saw coming out of Soweto and other parts of the country in 1976 were tragic. 41 years, what have we achieved?
Look, I mean, definitely life is completely different from what it was 41 years ago. If you look at the number of young black South Africans who are in universities, in TVET colleges, if you look at the number of schools, I mean, at the time in 1976 in Soweto, there were only 10 high schools, and as we speak now, there are more than 300, high schools within that vicinity. And I think for me, that's what's critical. Of course, we're still grappling with, a whole range of other challenges. The big challenge for us is, creating employment, getting young people, gaining traction in entrepreneurship. And I think also, the broader access to education. But I mean, I don't think that it would be fair to suggest that, not much has been done. What we do is to appreciate in our national youth policy that, the youth of 76 have laid a foundation for us, for the current generation. And I think the point is, how do we take this country forward? How do we ensure that we contribute into its political discourse? How do we ensure that we become innovative? How do we ensure that, we deal with a sense of entitlement? We see government as creating a platform for us to be, to prosper as young people. So essentially that's where, we want to see our country moving forward. We have the National Youth Policy 2020, we have the National Development Plan 2030, and those, I think, are the pinnacles within which we can be able to achieve a better South Africa.
Now, Mr. Manamela, the theme for this event talks to the advancing of economic youth challenges. I mean, talking to that and looking at an area like Ventersdorp, where do we start? People in areas such as this one have lost hope. How do you ensure as government that they continue to trust you?
Look, I mean, contrary to, that belief, I was here, for the better part of the preparations for this rally, and the sense that we are getting getting is young people are saying, look, give us information, tell us where to go, tell us who to talk to. We want that so that we're able to take advantage, of all of those opportunities. And that's why, the president instructed all ministers and deputy ministers to go into the countryside, to go into the marginalized and excluded, to go and speak to the forgotten young people in the rural areas and say to them, this government cares, this is your government, and this is what this government wants to do with you, for you, in order for us to build a better country.
Now also, Mr. Manamela, talking about disgruntled youth, looking back to what we saw in our universities with regards to fees must fall, how do we continue to engage with young people to ensure them that things are going to be okay?
I think the first thing is that we should not make the mistake of condemning the youth movement of the fees must fall. I think that it is an indication that the youth of this country are interested in contributing into building a better future. Of course, we were quite disappointed with the destruction of property and all of that. But I think also what we need to appreciate is the fact that this is a government that listens, and that's why the president has put in place a judicial commission whose role would be to look at the feasibility of free higher education for the poor. But I think what is even more of a challenge as government is that we have to allow young people to suggest solutions if we are to have a prosperous country. You cannot do, as it happened in 76, as it happened in 94, as it's happening now, you cannot push down the throats of young people solutions which they believe are not workable. And I think the fees must fall was a huge awakening for us as government to say, let's discuss, let's engage, let's talk with and not to young people, and let's listen to what they suggest needs to happen. And I think that's for me a profound lesson that we've gathered from the Fees Must Fall movement and many others. We're realizing that a lot of young people are beginning to experiment with ideas around identity, the Afro movement which was there those are things which we may take very lightly, but these are young people who are saying this is who we are and we want to express ourselves in that way. Of course, the disadvantage has been the rise in confidence with regards to, racism and all of that. And I think that's one of the things that we'll have to deal with. But the signals we're getting is that the current generation is, although acknowledging the progress, but they are very uncomfortable with the way in which things need to move forward.
Thank you very much for your time. Well, that was the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Mr. Buti Manamela.
As you know, President Zuma will deliver the keynote address there a little bit later. That was Soweto Solwandle in Ventersdorp talking to the Deputy Minister in the Presidency of Monitoring and Evaluation, Buti Manamela. Now, the events of June 16, 1976 are deeply etched in the memories of those who were part of the student-led protest. The state's violent clampdown on the protest claimed about 23 lives in Soweto alone on the day of the march. The unrest was a response to the introduction of Afrikaans as the medium of instruction. The SABC spoke to some of the students of the class of 1976 who were at the forefront of the students' march.
Teach yourself Afrikaans.
Good evening, listeners. Let us start off by getting to know all the Afrikaans sounds. Lag, dag en nag. Lag.
There had been simmering tensions in schools around townships before June 1976. In 1974, the apartheid government had issued a decree that Afrikaans would be the language of instruction in all schools. The decree forced teachers to teach all subjects in Afrikaans. The government's proposed plan was to compel students to take half of their content subjects, like biology and mathematics, in Afrikaans, and the other half in English. Students vehemently refused to be taught in Afrikaans.
when we heard that it was going to be enforced, some of us approached the teachers to intervene. But those days, if you were black African, versus the apartheid government, your interventions were not particularly taken very serious. We realized that, some of the teachers we spoke to indicated that, look, there's nothing they can do.
Africans was a huge problem. The teachers themselves couldn't understand Africans. They couldn't teach in Africans. The children themselves, it was worse because the subjects, if they're in Africans, that's why it collapsed. It didn't work.
The teachers accepted because they were civil servants. They couldn't say anything else. Now, the student, they said to the teachers, enough is enough. We will take this into the street to demonstrate. We protest to show that we are against this.
The majority of people resented Afrikaans. They saw it as the language of the oppressor. Even though teachers and parents tried to reason with the state to review the language policy in schools, students felt that there were bigger politics beyond their circumstances. In fact, one student wrote to the World newspaper, "Our parents are prepared to suffer under the white man's rule. They have been living for years under these rules, and they've become immune to them. But we strongly refuse to swallow an education that is designed to make us slaves in the country of our birth."
As kids then, we said, this is an interest of white people oppressing black Africans. And we are on our own. Our parents, seems to be powerless. We were sinking deeper and deeper in a quagmire of hardship. So we acted.
The first act was to call a students' meeting on the 13th of June 1976 in Orlando.
June 16 was fully planned, and we're in the streets on the 16th. The question is, why 3 days? Why were you in such a hurry? We knew that if we let it stay longer, the police will know and grab most of us and arrest us. So we needed something that was going to happen quickly.
They even made a pact not to get their parents involved, believing they would try to stop them. The plan for a march was also being hatched in other schools as far as Cape Town.
When the concern was raised, whether it started being raised in Soweto, but the concern circulated all around the country, Before 1976, Cape Town students were already expressing concerns. There were discussions in Cape Town about, the fact that students were gonna be forced to learn in Afrikaans,
Back in Soweto, the students had an elaborate plan on how their march would unfold.
It was supposed to be 3 days. The first march was supposed to be on June 16. The second march was on a Wednesday. And then the second march was supposed to be on a Thursday. The third march was supposed to be on a Friday. Then we are going to listen to the response of government and then meet in Orlando Stadium on Friday, so that then we can then plan the next action. We understand that was the plan of the action committee that was led by Tsietsi Mashinini.
They said on the 16th, Sekanantwana, Morris, Lady High should move down to Orlando West Junior. And then on the 17th, it was Madibeng and Orlando High. On the 18th, I'm talking of the plan, we marched to Orlando Stadium.
At Orlando Stadium, the students planned to draft a memorandum of their grievances. But, as fate would have it, the apartheid police force unleashed its might on them.
At Morris Isaacson High School, what happened is that we assembled as usual in the morning. We had our morning prayers. As soon as we had finished our morning prayers, then out came the placards. Then the students moved peacefully out, and then as they were going out, all other schools started joining them. Now they're marching towards Orlando Stadium. This is what happened. And on the way, of course, then they were confronted by the police. It was supposed to be a peaceful march, and the peaceful march was just a demonstration against the fact that they were against Africans as a medium of instruction.
Nobody expected that this is going to be a big thing, because it was just a students' march. The student was just going to register their concern, to write a memorandum to submit it to the Department of Education. Their aim of marching was to march it to Orlando Stadium and gather there to start writing a memorandum while they're together.
Sam Zima and Sophie Tema were assigned to cover the march. Zima recalls how people seemed surprised about the students' turnout. He says a police squad was sent in to form a line in front of the marchers. What happened next still haunts him today.
They didn't even reach Orlando Stadium. When they reached at Orlando West High, which is Metsike High School, Vilakazi Street, so is where the police started the trouble. The police in charge, who had his stick in his armpit, he pulled out his stick and say, "But Makela Klek is so." The man said, 3 minutes to Vector Khanfan is off, which means that I'm giving you 3 minutes, must disperse from here. So they start to sing the song which was banned, was Sigelel Africa. I think that's the thing that provoked that guy, the leader of the police, and they pulled his gun and shot direct to the crowd.
Our fingers were like this. The only thing that was available for us to protect ourselves was a dustbin lid and a stone.
When the first shots were fired, Sam Zima took pictures. One of them became probably the most famous photograph of the uprising.
I went there under the shower of bullets for the picture. I took that picture, 6 shots. Mbuyiso Makhubo was trying to get the nearest car to take Hector Peterson to the nearest clinic. And indeed, the only car was our press car, which was a Volkswagen. Sophie Tima helped Mbuyiso Makhubo to take Hector Peterson to the car, put him in the back seat. They drove into the clinic. On arrival there, the doctor certified Hector Peterson dead on the arrival. Then the student picked up the stone and retaliated, hit back to the police. The police were fired, shooting with the live ammunition.
None of us anticipated that the police would act the way they did. And we had expected them to hold on, keep on with their ordinary lives, ordinary policing lives. And we had thought we were going to be as much peaceful as we were, which definitely we were, until the provocation that we met from the police.
There were no rubber bullets by then, but they were using live ammunition.
The police's response to our protest marches and so on didn't actually get the desired effect. So they became more brutal. They started shooting. They would come and say, we give you 5 minutes to disperse, Before a minute was over, you could tell that some of them were trigger happy.
Soweto became a battlefield. Students attacked what they saw as symbols of apartheid. Government buildings were razed to the ground. Vehicles belonging to white businesses and beer halls were not spared.
Within 36 hours of the start of a march by 10,000 pupils in protest against Afrikaans, 29 people were dead and 250 injured.
As the battle continued well into the night, thousands of students were arrested, and most were not prepared for the brutality that awaited them.
Under detention without trial, we were tortured. I won't forget things that Maburu were ruthless. We were tortured in different forms.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Are you about that trending life? The looking good and all that slayage? Well, fear not, because Trends has all the fashion do's and don'ts for you to stay on point this upcoming season.
This film will be an immersive spectacle. You got Kong that's 100 feet tall.
It tells this incredible story of man versus nature.
The iconic stage production by Mbongeni Ngema is back with a bang.
Sarafina is a classic South African production.
I always choose to align myself with brands that I just love. Because when you love something, it doesn't become work.
Luxury is not built overnight, but it's an experience that comes with time.
Catch up with all the trends on Trends Saturdays at 12.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Welcome back. We'll break away from a little bit of the special broadcast on the 16th of June to bring you some of the sporting news of what's happening around the world. We'll start off with the defending champions India, who are through to the final of the 2017 ICC Champions Trophy hosted in England and Wales. India recorded an impressive 9-wicket win over Bangladesh at Edgbaston Cricket Ground in Birmingham to set up the final against Pakistan this coming Sunday.
With a very strong batting lineup and being a side that like to chase, India won the toss and Captain Virat Kohli elected to field first. This was unexpected considering teams batting first in this tournament won in this ground, except when Pakistan was chasing against Australia in a Group A match. Nonetheless, it was India who made a good start with the ball, Kumar Bhuvneshwar removing the opening pair of Bangladesh inside the first 5 overs. From there on, it was all about the batsmen, both Rahim Mushfiqur and Iqbal Tamim, going on to register their respective half-centuries. The Group A runners-up looking set for a reasonable total on 152 for 2 after 27 overs. Indian bowlers, however, responded superbly with the 3 wickets in a space of 8 overs, reducing Bangladesh to 183 for 5 with the 14 overs still to go. Bangladesh went on to lose 2 more wickets on their way to posting a total of 264 for 7 at the end of their innings. Just like with the ball, India made a positive start with the bat, the opening stand of Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan contributing 83 runs for no loss. That was before Bangladesh got the much-needed breakthrough in the 15th over, Shikhar Dhawan gone for 46 in the 15th over. Sharma went on to record his first half-century in the ICC Champions Trophy as India chased down Bangladesh total with ease. Joseph Mohali, SABC News.
Staying with cricket news, the Proteas women's cricket team will rely heavily on experience to excel at the upcoming World Cup in England. Most of the players have been together in their national setup for almost 10 years. Some will be making a third and fourth appearance at the tournament.
In their last World Cup in India, they finished a disappointing 6th. However, this year things look set to improve. They have made steady progress on the world rankings. It's an objective that was set 3 years ago to go into the World Cup on a high.
If you look at the last 2 years, how the team has grown in leaps and bounds. Yes, the conditions have been different. The way we competed against Australia and New Zealand, playing on subcontinent soil, I think for us as a team, we're very happy and we feel that our preparation has been spot on. This week has just confirmed that with everything that we had and then the way everybody went. I think mentally the group, they're in a very good space, and which is very good for us going into a World Cup.
South Africa's best position was at the New Zealand World Cup in 2000 when they reached the semi-finals. There is a lot of positive attitude that they can surpass that record.
We've got a great side, I'm not just saying it, skills-wise, experience-wise, we've got a great mix of young and not old, but got experience, inexperience, and it's really blending really well in the side. So yeah, we're going there to play our best and try and win the World Cup.
There are only 2 new players in the team. Nadine de Klerk and Raisi Bentozake impressed in the CSA Women's Quadrangular Series in Potchefstroom. Their dreams of representing their country on the biggest stage came through earlier than expected.
It has always been a passion for me to actually raise my hand up and excel at what I do best. So when I got selected, it was just a matter of you truly did what you're really good at and you actually put in the hard work. Now it's actually paying off.
This Proteas team has vowed to focus on themselves in this World Cup, showcase their own brand of cricket and maintain consistency. Lebantube, SABC News, Pretoria.
Our Springbok coach Alistair Coetzee has made just one injury force change to his matchday 23 squad for the second test against France on Saturday in Durban. Lions centre Lionel Mapoy is drafted into the starting 15 to replace Jesse Kriel, who has to sit out for a week with concussion.
Mapu's return to full fitness and into the starting 15 after a knee injury is a rare turn of fortune for the Springbok coach. 2016 saw the Boks ravaged by injury, with few options when key players were ruled out. Mapu, a specialist outside centre, is set to win his 12th Bok cap this weekend.
We want to prevent making a lot of changes after playing well in the first test, and now it's about building momentum and continuity with more or less the same team.
In stark contrast, the French have made 8 changes as they look to level the 3-match series. A revamped France was always anticipated for the second test, with players from Toulon and Clermont returning to the mix. And it does mean that despite the 37-14 win in the series opener, the Boks do not yet have the measure of Les Bleus.
Our set piece, that is one thing that we can assure of the France would come out and try and improve on, is the scrum. And we've got to be able to be as neat and tidy like we have been in the first test.
The Springboks don't have a formidable win rate at Kings Park in Durban. However, they've beaten France 3 times and drawn 3 times in past encounters.
Now, American Ricky Fowler tamed a toothless Erin Hills to claim the first-round lead at the US Open, making the so-called toughest test in golf look easy. With only a gentle breeze and rains having taken the bite out of the monstrous 7,845-yard course, early starters tore apart the link-style layout. Fowler fired a blemish-free 7 under 65 with birdies on the first and 18th holes. He's one ahead of Englishman Paul Casey and compatriot Janda Chauffelet. World number 1 and defending champion Dustin Johnson, one of the golf's big hitters, misfired for a 3 over 75. South Africa's Ernie Els is 5 shots behind Fowler after an opening round of 70. He's in a group of 11, which includes Masters champion Sergio Garcia and fellow South African Brandon Stone.
All in all, I got to be happy. I mean, you take a 2 under par in the first round, and the US Open, you're right there. And I know Ricky played a great round, 7 under, but through experience, you know that the field's coming towards par. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm happy with that first round.
The new VAR, or Video Assistant Referees system, was tested in Russia's St. Petersburg just 2 days before the opening of the Confederation Cup. The tournament will be the first major senior international soccer competition where the new system will be used. The FIFA head of refereeing, Massimo Busacca, said the system would support referees and make faster decisions on the pitch on match days. The technology aims to improve quality of refereeing using video replays and off-pitch video assistant referees who watch the game inside a special room at the stadium with access to all camera angles on the pitch. The referee communicates with them during the match. To see how efficient the VAR system is, referees ask players to intentionally commit fouls and for referees to overlook them. The final decision on the introduction of the VAR will be taken in 2018.
In front of a video, we still continue to have a human. So you have to understand clear that it's not like goal line technology with a watch giving an information to say goal, no goal, something that is a fact. In front of a video, we will continue to have a human.
Now, reports coming out of Spain claim that Cristiano Ronaldo wants to leave Real Madrid in a decision that has been described as irreversible. The 31-year-old Real Madrid and Portugal star is reportedly incensed at his treatment by Spanish tax authorities and wishes to leave the country, according to the front page of Portuguese daily A Bola today. Ronaldo is the subject of a lawsuit brought by Spanish prosecutors over tax that they believe he should have paid on image rights income. The winger is being accused of defrauding nearly 15 million euros from the Spanish taxpayer. Real Madrid issued a statement fully supporting the player, claiming they were absolutely convinced of his innocence. The Portuguese legend this month won his third Champions League as a Madrid player and fourth of his career, but is so indignant at what he feels amounts to persecution that he's ready to walk away and has communicated that decision to Florentino Perez, the Real Madrid president. And other news, Olympic champion Caster Semenya was the only South African on the podium at the Diamond League meet in Oslo. Semenya snatched a win in the women's 800 meters as she passed Francine Niyonsaba on the final straight after the Burundian runner led at the bell. 400-meter athlete Peter Conradi ended sixth in the men's 400 meters, while LJ van Zyl had a race to forget in the one-lap hurdles event. Canadian sprinter Andre de Grasse won the men's 100-meter event, pipping Britain's Chijundu Uja and Ivory Coast Ben Youssef Meita. No runner dipped under 10 seconds, with de Grasse's winning time a handy 10.01 seconds. In the men's, and then later on, in the men's 400-meter hurdles, Olympic champion Karen Clement had a disastrous race. The American was playing catch-up to inspired Norwegian Karsten Warholm before mistiming his approach to a hurdle at the final bend, finishing last as a result, while Warholm broke a national record with a time of 48.25 seconds. And then South Africa's LJ van Zyl ended only ahead of Clement in 49.89 seconds. And of course, and that's where we're going to leave it for now with the sport. Just to remind you quickly, we're also asking you about Caster Semenya and whether she's the greatest track athlete from South Africa of all time.
Well, that's what we have for you. But remember, big day today, June the 16th. It's all happening in Ventersdorp. You know that the president will be there, Jacob Zuma. In a short while, let's go there live.
Welcome back to Ventersdorp, where we are remembering the youth of 1976. Things are about to get underway here. We understand that the president has arrived already inside. And of course, at this hour, we must say welcome to our SABC 1 viewers. We are live on SABC 1 and Channel 404. We'll be bringing the events to you live. Like I said, the president has arrived. It's been a busy morning here. We've been speaking to all kinds of people, not just government officials. We've been speaking to the youth here about the challenges that they face every single day here. And of course, those are issues that the president is likely to address when he takes to the podium just after 11 o'clock this morning. And what you see there is the Ikageng Bill Cosby traditional dance group. They'll be performing here a little bit later. For now, let's go to Lebo and check out what's happening on her side before the program officially gets underway. Lebo?
Absolutely, Noma way too. As you know, the sports grounds has been quickly filling up. There are hundreds and hundreds of people here, and many still trying to find entrance, many still trying to find seating. From where I am, everyone is still queuing to get a space so that they can get a glimpse of the program, and especially the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma. We've spoken to quite a number of people, as you alluded to earlier, Noma way to the youth from different schools all across the province. We've spoken to a few entrepreneurs here. We've also spoken to some of the adults, the parents, the teachers that are also here to support the youth, to encourage them, you know, to especially start up their own businesses instead of relying on government to employ them, which ties in with the theme of today, the year of OR Tambo, advancing economic transformation and empowerment. As we can see, President Jacob Zuma is walking into the venue right now, and the program is about to start right now. He is entering the marquee as we speak, and indeed, it is all systems ready. His delegation there behind him. We will be waiting with eager ears to hear the message. There you can see the youth very, very excited by the arrival of the president, Mr. Jacob Getetekisa Zuma.
As we raise up our flags and welcome the Honorable President, the Honorable Premier, and the Honorable Minister. Let's raise our flags. May we all sit as we have welcomed the Honorable President, Honorable Zuma, the Premier of the province, Honorable Suprama Humapelo, and the Minister of Arts and Culture, Honorable Natim Tretwa. Our students, to our President. Let me request that the Northwest University Choir leads us with the AU and the South African National Anthem. To show respect to our national anthems. And young people, let's keep the respect and the discipline. So that we allow the Northwest University Choir to lead us both with the AU and the South African National Anthem. Northwest University Choir and the SAPS.
Together to defend our of life. Let us all unite and sing in together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for peace and justice on earth. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and join together to give the best we have to Africa, the cradle of mankind and font of culture, of pride and hope and break of dawn. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life.
Re lebogile Northwest University and the SABC choir. Re ka dula mo fatshe bagaetso, as I've indicated, my name is Ntombi Koloti. I'll be co-directing the program with the Minister of Arts and Culture, Honorable Nathi Mthethwa. Let's move on to the next item in our program, which is to call to the podium Tonakgolo ya rona ya province ya Bokone Bophirima, Honorable Supra Maumapelo, go tla gore amogela baeng botlhe ba ba tswang ko di provinceng tse di farologaneng. Honorable Supra Maumapelo, can we put our hands together?
Ukolo lwami ndonyoka nalo, ndonyoka nalo neloba, nyesandla diyongena nalo. Ukolo lwami ndonyoka nalo, ukolo lwami ndonyoka neloba, mbenyesa endiyongena nalo eka, enoma kunzima, noma kunzima, enoma Ukhololwa mendiyongena nalo eka. Ayo matata. Ayo matata. Ayo matata. Yo body. Ayo matata. Ayo matata.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Wadite dula mohopola. E abiduan tate Terreblanche. Yanun tate Terreblanche hatola lite. Siloseri tubelanso. Now what we are happy about, President and the rest of the ministers who are here and the people of South Africa, is that the people of this small dorpy called Ventersdorp, black and white, are now beginning to come together, are now beginning to work together to build a non-racial Ventersdorp. Yana re batla go ba leboga baagi ba ba rona ba mo Ventersdorp gore ba be ba dira ka puo ya Afrikaans two nathering that we need between white people and black people as part of building a non-racial.
Massive amount of numbers.
Called Youth Entrepreneurship Services to make sure that we help young people with bursaries, but also to make sure that we help young people with the need for them to understand that they must become entrepreneurs. So that tomorrow young people must not just continue to be employees, but our young people must also become employers and play an active and leading role in the economy of South Africa. So ritumetse thata mokamedi gore gompieno tautona wa bo le mo provinceng ya rena Bokone Bophirima una le matona otlhe a leng teng ka kwane mo letsatsi la gompieno go tla go keteka le rona mo Bokone Bophirima mo le bo moebong jwa Afrika Borwa yotlhe June 16 jaaka re itse mo nageng ya rona ya Afrika Borwa. Our hope is that from here, as a people of this province, as a people of Ventersdorp, the small dorpy, and now integrated into one big municipality called the JB Max municipality, we will now work together. Yes, the municipality is now renamed to become the JB Max municipality. It's a way of giving tribute to one of our most advanced revolutionaries, Ndate JB Max. So we hope that with the visit here and holding this event here, we will not only as a province but as this municipality redouble and triple our efforts in as far as working for the implementation of the radical socio-economic program is concerned.
As we raise up our flags, as we celebrate our day, our month, we are saying nothing without us. Allow me, Bagayesu, to call to the podium a new from the box, the chairperson of the National Youth Development Agency, one of our own, Mr. Zuma, to give us a message of support as young people of the Northwest Province and the country, Arona, South Africa. As we raise our flags and put our hands together for Mr. Zuma.
My name is Friso.
Halala President Zuma, halala. Halala President Zuma, halala. Pambili President Zuma, pambili. Pambili tunahuluma umapilu, pambili. Long live the undying spirit of Hector Peterson, long live. Long live the undying spirit of Steve Biko, long live. Long live the undying spirit of Solomon Mahlangu, long live. Long live the undying spirit of Peter Mukaba, long live. Ayeye bantabacha, ayeye. Ayeye bantabacha, ayeye. Uzwe tola ganjani. Uhlele koneni. His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable President Zuma, the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Honorable Buti Manamela, the Minister of Arts and Culture, Honorable Natim Tetwa, Ministers and Deputy Ministers that are present here today, members of the Provincial Executive Council of the Northwest, led by the Premier of the Northwest, His Excellency, Honorable Supra Maumapelo, the Mayor of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda Municipality, mayors of local municipalities that are with us, the Executive Deputy Chairperson and the Board of the National Youth Development Agency, the Chief Executive Officer of the NYDA and the Executive Management Team, members of various youth political formations and political structures that are with us today, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, Ralidumerisa Mobukoni Bupirima, Rere Chakabacha, by NYDA, Requano, Hotlo Kitika Letatilena, Hotlo Hopola, the students Zarona, Taylor Horika 1976, Salida Emma Darzone, Digasi Dumele, Horutiwaga Africans Karomane, Africans has language Arona, Rabata Horutiwaga language Arona, Yellow Horaiti, language Yellow Raiutusisa. Fella the students itself, DA Mida Ribone, Habato Emela and the government, Yellow Hor Habai Votela Habaiti, Barijagaba, Chabamo South Africa, Bata Emma, Baire Hori, government Yamo South Africa, Ibe government Yellow Hori, Raibona Lohon. Honorable President was saying that young people of this country took the bull by its horns and defined their own destiny. We are here today as the National Youth Development Agency to say to you, President, we have listened to young people in this country. Young people in this country are saying that the levels of unemployment in this country are no longer acceptable. They are saying to deal with unemployment in this country, President, we need to start taking radical decisions that will ensure that young people become employed. One of those radical decisions, President, as you will be giving your speech, and I'm sure, President, you will agree with young people that the time has come that private companies, government departments must start reflecting 40% of young people in their own employment. Because young people constitute the majority of people in this particular country. It cannot be that when you look at the bureaucracy, you look at the private sector, you see old people sitting there when young people are out there not having jobs. Young people, President, are asking you that the time to use experience as a requirement to get a job must come to an end. Graduates are unemployed and they are told that to be employed, they need experience. How will young people get experience if they are outside of the system and they are not inside the system? Young people have said to us that they want to see the NYDA in every corner of South Africa. We want to stand here and say to you, young people of South Africa, never lose hope. The National Youth Development Agency is here. The National Youth Development Agency will be with you. We are going to be in every corner of this country. We are going to make sure that the views of young people find expression in government. With those few words, President, would like to say to you that we thank you very much for appointing this particular board. We will never disappoint you, President. We will ensure that at the end of the day, young people of this country have their needs served. And we are confident, President, that under your government, we are going to achieve those particular things. As you can see, President, young people of this country are here in numbers. Young people of this country have full confidence in the government of the Republic. Young people of this country will defend the standing of the government of the Republic, because we know this democracy came by sweat and blood. We will never allow this democracy to go anywhere. If it needs to be, President, we will do what the generation of 76 did. We will fill up the streets in defense of our democracy. With those few words, thank you very much.
Indeed, as we continue to raise our flag, we will affirm our voices and say, "Ga gona sepe se se tlong go diragala for rona without us." As I request that kami kgolokwane le kami didietsane and raise our flags, go biletsa mo seraleng the Honorable Minister Nathi Mthethwa to come and present our next item. Kami kgolokwane le mididietsane as we raise our flags.
Alala bukoni bupirima alala. Hola bacha hola. Thank you, Program Director, my co-program director, Ntombi Koloti, His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Zuma, ministers and deputy ministers here present, the Premier of this province of Northwest, Premier Supra Mahuma Pilo, Councillor Musiane Sikhotso, the Executive Mayor, members of the Executive Council, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, the youth of our country. Today will always be the most important day which decided the fate of democracy in this country, when young people rose and took to the street and said, "This far, no further." As we reflect on that, we also have to remind ourselves that the youth before us, our forebears, identified the mission for themselves. And their mission was freedom in their lifetime. As they rose to build that giant of a movement of young people, the ANC Youth League, their war cry was freedom in our lifetime. Indeed, some of them lived to see that freedom, to see that mission fulfilled. The likes of the late President Nelson Mandela, amongst people who founded the ANC Youth League. Today, the mission of the youth of today, the generation of today, has been identified by yourselves as young people: economic freedom in your lifetime. And that is not going to happen, and is not going to be achieved without coming up with clear, radical, socio-economic program to transform our society. any other thing less than that, we will be scratching the surface. Our Premier here has welcomed us. He told us that the Inchadi Bofiwe so are home and dry, Premier. But I also want to say that I heard that you say this municipality, the Ventersdorp, is now JP Max. That's good, Premier, but I've not received that application. It hasn't reached my desk, you see. So, as we request the President of the Republic of South Africa to come to the fore and give all of us the message, let us rise to welcome him on the podium here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Please let us take our seats. Dumelang, lekai, hakuna buferefere mo. Zinto zitsamaya hantle. Ne re a leboga. Re leboga haholo. Thank you very much, directors of the program, Mentombi and Datenati. The Premier of the Northwest, Date Supra Mahumapelo. Our ministers who are present here and deputy ministers, MECs who are present here, executive mayors and councillors, members of the National Parliament and members of the provincial legislatures. Members of the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders, also here present. Leadership of the National Youth Development Agency and other youth organizations. All the young people of South Africa, fellow South Africans, Bagayesu, Dumelang, Molweni, Sanbonan, today, South Africa marks 41 years since the historic uprising by the youth of our country on the 16th June 1976. This year's national commemoration is held in the home of our stalwart, JP Max, whose remains we fetched from Russia and reburied here 2 years ago, and whose tombstone was unveiled in February this year. We pay tribute
to him yet again as we recall this great but tragic moment in our history. National Youth Day is significant in our country as it acknowledges the heroism of the youth of 1976 who took on the apartheid state to register their total rejection of the diabolical Bantu education system at the time. They also took to the streets in order to advance the goals of the broader struggle for liberation and democracy in their country. They changed the course of history and the face of politics in our country. The uprising moved from Soweto to other parts of the country as our people said, enough is enough. They wanted to be free from the yoke of apartheid oppression. We pay tribute to all who lost their lives on this tragic day, such as Hector Peterson, Hastings Dlovu, and many others in Soweto and other parts of the country on June 16 and throughout that year. We remember the pain of the families of those who went missing, such as Mbuyisa Makubu, who is depicted carrying Hector Peterson in the famous and historic June 16 picture taken by photographer Sam Zuma. We also acknowledge the leadership of the June 1976 mass student revolt who contributed to moving our struggle forward, such as Tsietsi Machinini, Khotso Setlolo, Seth Mazibuko, Super Moloi, Daniel Manchinchi, Billy Masetla, Mephi Morobi, and many others. We also acknowledge women who played a prominent role but who are left out of the mainstream June 16, 1976 historical narrative, such as Sibongile Nkabela, Margaret Masabalala, Eunice Sitole, Patience Banda, and many others. We urge historians to ensure the inclusion of women in our June historical records and every other key episode in the history of our struggle, as there is a tendency to focus on males when history is recorded. Today, we also honor the successive generations of youth for having always been part of every radical or momentous phase in our movement's history. Led by various leaders, including the late courageous Peter Mukaba and others. Compatriots, the youth of 1976 fought for political freedom, which dawned in 1994 after a long, protracted struggle by our people. The youth is now fighting for social and economic freedom. The youth of 2017 is fighting for freedom from poverty, inequality, and unemployment. The government in 1976 responded with guns to the call of young people for freedom and a better life. The democratic government calls upon young people to work with us in all spheres of government as we proceed to ensure that young people live in decent homes, in communities with roads, electricity, water, recreational facilities. We want youth to access university and college education, to be free from drug and substance abuse, to be free from HIV and AIDS due to prevention and treatment. We want our youth to contribute to the advancement of the country in science and technology, sports, medicine, and other fields. Most importantly, they must achieve economic freedom. It is for this reason that this year's National Youth Day is celebrated under the theme, the year of Oliver Reginald Tambo, advancing youth economic empowerment. President Oliver Tambo, the centenary of his birth, we celebrate this year, believed in economic freedom and equality of our people. In his address to the first Congress of MPLA on the 12th December 1977, he had this to say, and I quote, "We visualize a South Africa in which the people shall govern, in which the wealth of the country shall be restored to the people, and where the land shall be shared among those who work it," unquote. Inspired by these words, we have therefore dedicated ourselves to radical socio-economic transformation with an emphasis on the need to achieve economic emancipation. Education is the most powerful weapon towards economic freedom. Government has taken reasonable and practical measures in ensuring that young people are enrolled in schools and study in decent schools and not mud schools and the other inappropriate structures. Through the education infrastructure grant and the accelerated schools infrastructure delivery initiative, more new schools have been built, refurbishments made, and new school furniture delivered. For the current financial year, government has allocated 12 billion rand in total to improve our schools' infrastructure needs. Many learners come from poor homes where they go to school without having heard something to eat. It is for this reason that we started the National School Nutrition Program, which benefits 9 million learners from 21,000 schools per day to improve their performance in class. For the current financial year, government will spend some 6.8 billion rand on the nutrition scheme. We appreciate the gradual improvements in our matric pass rate each year, and invest in mathematics, science, and technology teaching in order to improve the country's performance in these critical fields. As part of building our new nation, we also want you, our youth, black and white, to be conversant and proficient in African languages, which define their identity as South Africans and Africans. In this regard, government is introducing the incremental use of African languages in schools on a compulsory basis. Beyond matric, government wants our youth to access higher education regardless of the economic status of their families. Since its inception, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme has disbursed more than 72 billion rand in loans and bursaries to students from poor households. More than 2 million students currently continue to receive NSFAS funding at our tertiary institutions, including those at the technical, vocational education and training colleges. This contribution by government is an important foothold onto which a more expanded and inclusive funding model can be found. We await the findings of the Hehe Commission of Inquiry with great interest in advising us on the funding of higher education, which is an apex priority for the democratic government. Fellow South Africans, our national development plan outlines the vision we have of a growing economy which must create jobs for our people. Ultimately, a growing economy is our most important solution against youth unemployment. We are going through a difficult period in the economy currently, which sluggish growth and also the recent downgrades of our investment grade as a country. Government will be meeting with business before the end of June so that together we can discuss ways of further igniting confidence in our economy and growth. Whilst we may have differences on some issues currently, we need to put the country first. And through working together, solutions can be found. Government is also playing its part to empower young people and cushion them from the harsh impact of the economic situation through creating job opportunities, training opportunities, and also providing funding support for those who wanted to open businesses. There are various programs already within government's economic sectors employing and infrastructure development cluster towards youth empowerment at the national level, while provinces and municipalities have various programs in place as well. Since the launch of the expanded public works program, phase 3 in April 2014, over 1.2 million work opportunities have been taken up by the youth out of the 2.6 million work opportunities created by that program. In the current 2017 to 18 financial year, the expanded public works program aims to create more than 700,000 work opportunities for youth through the 4 sectors of the program, namely infrastructure, social sector, non-state, environmental and culture sectors. To mention a few examples of interventions, the Department of Environmental Affairs will prioritize the placement of young women in the environmental sector and will also invest 1.5 billion rand to reach 35,000 young people in various projects. The Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries will support youth-owned enterprises through the Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program and the Ilima Lesema programs. The Department of Communications, in collaboration with the Department of Public Works, will train more than 2,000 youth to help install set-top boxes to enable judicial migration. The Department of Trade and Industry, through the Manyetla Work Readiness Program, aims to provide training to 6,000 young people to position South Africa as a preferred offshore location for call centers or business process operations. Through the Department of Human Settlements, over 500 host employers in the real state sector will absorb over 8,000 unemployed youth and graduates to take up opportunities in real estate. The Department of Energy will train young people as installers for the solar water heater program. The Department of Rural Development and Land Reform will continue implementing the National Rural Youth Service Corps and Youth Brigade program, focusing on agriculture, construction, and engineering sectors through the training of 400 youth. The Department of Water and Sanitation continues to train youth people, continue to train young people as plumbers and artisans to participate in the program of preventing water leaks in municipalities. As part of driving economic emancipation, the National Youth Development Agency has been directed to focus on promoting youth entrepreneurship and the improved coordination of the National Youth Service across all sectors of government. In the current financial year, the agency will invest 72 million rand in the economic participation program. 18,000 young and aspiring entrepreneurs will receive business support services such as vouchers, the registration of new companies, mentorship, and training at different levels to encourage advancement of the entrepreneurship agenda. To enable a wider reach, the NYDA will open 4 new branches over the next 2 years in Ekurhuleni, Richards Bay, OR Tambo region in the Eastern Cape, and Newcastle in KwaZulu-Natal, which shall extend its services to more young people. Furthermore, the NYDA has positively responded to the call of young people in all branches. It shall be equipped with free Wi-Fi services to provide young people with access to technology. The NYDA will continue to prioritize education as well. And the Solomon Mahlangu Scholarship Fund supports 500 students annually. Government will continue to monitor the implementation of all programs aimed at supporting young people through a committee of deputy ministers led by the deputy minister in the presidency, Mr. Buti Manamela. The committee reports directly to the president. The deputy ministers work with young representatives who are members of the Presidential Youth Working Group. We will soon issue a public call for youth organizations to nominate members to serve on the Presidential Youth Working Group so that we can add more youth formations to this important body. Compatriots, let me today emphasize the need for young people to seize the opportunity provided by government to help them establish their own businesses. I'm happy today to host a few young trailblazers and achievers who prove that it is possible to succeed in South Africa for young people. Some are job creators in their own right, employing other young people. They prove that there is a lot of talent and excellence among the youth in South Africa. I would like to introduce these role models who represent many others in many communities. I take it that due to the distance, others who are supposed to be here, they are not here. But nevertheless, I will still call their names because I think it is important for us to know who are these. We have a young man who invented the dry bath at the age of 17 and is the founder and managing director in a company that manufactures the dry bath technology. Ludwig Marishane from Cape Town. He's not here. But that is one of the young men who are supposed to be here. We have a young entrepreneur from Tembisa in the East Rand, Gauteng, who owns a company that manufactures branding materials. Bulelani Balabala. Akasukume, you must stand up. Yes. Nango. We have the founder of a company that manufactures assistive devices for cancer and turned victims. Miss Nieli Kolisa from Tabanchu in the Free State. South Africa idlala iyaqhuba. More young people are becoming doctors and specialists at a young age in our country. We are proud to host an obstetrician and gynecologist who is also a lecturer and doctor of the Wits University Obstetrics and Gynecologist Clinic Research Division at the age of 34, Dr. Salome Maswime from Midrand in Gauteng. She does look young, but she's 34. Don't worry. She is a qualified doctor. Serious. We have a young person who runs an organization that creates handcrafted, fun products made out of a natural fabrics and African prints. Miss Ashley Scofield Tauros from Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. That's KZN. I'm also hosting a young person who invented a 15-in-1 microwave oven, an electronic vuvuzela, and an auto shoe polisher. Sir Stuart Tlati from Ventersdorp in the northwest. He is preparing to go to the moon, by the way, the scientist. We are happy also to introduce in absentia the founder and the owner of a shoe repair and manufacturing business in Bloemfontein, Free State, Miss Angela Mkabela. She was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, she couldn't make it. We have a young entrepreneur whose business offers a variety of services such as IT support, network design, and cyber security, and currently employs 27 people. Shadrach Sitole from Randburg in Gauteng. He's also not here, unfortunately, but he's one of our young people who have succeeded, to jump higher than others. Serious. We have 2 young people who own a catering and canteen services business which employs 20 young people. Bulelani Tembe and Lungile Ntetwa Unyambose from Tembisa in the East Rand. Upo partner wako. Where is your partner? But he is represented nevertheless. Well done. Also, in the catering business is a young man who runs a mobile kitchen that employs 2 people in Stenga, KwaZulu Natal. Utamsanga Taba. He's not here. Kubongwa okuncane kubonga okukhulu. Yebo. We have a young woman who runs a cooking retail and culinary school startup. That's a business which also provides kitchen accessories. Mogau Seshoweni from Tshwane, Gauteng. She's not, unfortunately, with us as well. We also have in our midst a young person whose company stops water leaks from toilets. Paseka Lesolang. He has done more things. He has created a very useful toilet that can be used in the countryside. Fleshy, but done by him, invented by him. I've seen it somewhere, in some area I know called Nkandla. I saw it. We have the co-founder and chairwoman of Raise the Children International, a non-profit organization that identifies self-motivated orphans from impoverished and rural communities for support. Lesego Serolo. Asidlali siyaqhuba. Bayakhala abanye bathi asenzi lutho. The young people are serious. There are many more outstanding young people who are engineers, plumbers, farmers, builders, electricians, teachers, nurses, police officers, and a host of other careers. We urge all our youth to go out there and find their own opportunities, and urge government and the private sector in every province to support these young go-getters. If we are still young, how munyenyan, how do we fast fail? Ekuswanetse uri umeka mautu. Utsama, ubatle zinto tlatsetsa. Kisizuthu sakha ke seo. Kishapa sizuthu na. We also urge the private sector to open more opportunities and employ young people as interns so that they can gain much needed experience and skills. Many young people are sitting at home with qualifications, all who are in management positions in various companies and the public sector must make it their responsibility to appoint young people as interns each year and give our youth a head start in life. I want to agree with the chair of the NYDA on the point he was raising, that in the past, the problem was that people, or the majority of people, were not skilled, and therefore you couldn't get a job. You end up getting just the job which, as a young trade unionist, we were calling it Tatalapa Begalap. The challenge today is that they've got skills. Now the bar has been moved up. If we have got all the certificate, then the experience. I think it is unfair to young people. Absolutely unfair. It's a matter I would suggest that young people should raise it, not just with the employers only. Because you will recall at one point we were saying, let us find a bridging method or program so that you could gain experience. But there was a problem with the unions, where they felt that will take their jobs. I think that's a matter to discuss, among others, with the unions, by the youth. What must they do? We must find a middle ground that helps us to solve that problem. Once we are skilled, besides the intern or whatever, there must be a program that we all do, government, business, labor, together, and we should agree. It's a matter that needs to be discussed. I totally agree. Compatriots, a successful youth is a healthy youth. A successful youth is a healthy youth. It's an important item for the youth to be healthy. You can't be a young person but have a body of an old person, because we are not exercising. You utla sufara ka speed. Utla sufara ka speed. And we are going to get sick. A healthy and a successful youth is a healthy youth. We are concerned about the high HIV infection rate in the youth age. Cohort of ages between 16 and 25, mainly. That group, 15 and 25. We therefore urge young people to support various initiatives of the Department of Health, such as the Dreams and pillar campaigns to fight HIV and AIDS and tuberculosis, TB. Let me also take this opportunity to appeal to the youth to join the fight against the abuse of women and children. Our country reels from one shock after another with regard to callous criminality against women and children. We urge the youth to help us fight against this scourge, working together with government and community structures. We have taken a decision at the government level that crime in the country is too much. That therefore, as a society, the whole country, influenced by the national challenge on crime, we should establish anti-crime street committees and village committees. And those committees should not be composed by politicians only. Every person who lives there, so that we can protect one another, is an initiative that I would be happy if the youth takes it up, gives leadership in the establishment of the street and what else? That's right, and village committees. Do we agree? Engathi nivuma half. When can I check whether we are doing something? Time frames. Ngiyengizwe besho njalo abafundile. Nini? September or July? This July? At the end of this July? Agreed. That's a contract. We've agreed. Where is the chair of? Because you know where to get them, I will sit behind you guys. In July, I want a report how many street committees and village committees have been established which are anti-crime at the end of July. Agreed? Wonderful, wonderful. I'm happy. We also urge the youth to join the war against the abuse of alcohol and drugs, which are tearing families apart and destroying the lives of our young people. Agreed? Navuma kancane manje. Okay. We must defeat Nyaupe. Agreed? We must defeat hunger, dacha, and all other substances that seek to derail the march of our youth to a better future. Importantly, the youth, black and white, should join the battle against racism in the country and to build a truly united, non-racial society. The town of Colony here in Northwest lost a young person, Matlomula Mshou, who was brutally murdered. The circumstances of this murder will be determined by the courts, and we should allow the law to take its course. His death must unite the people of colony in the determination to defeat racism, working together. Racism has been one of the terrible sickness of this country during apartheid. We must cure it. We hold the June 16 commemoration in Ventersdorp, which has had its own sad history of negative race relations, given the influence of some former resident of this town. I'm just forgetting his name, unfortunately. But you know him. You know him, Mos. At the same time, Ventersdorp has a positive history because Auntie J.B. Max is now buried here. Let us build a non-racial town where South Africans respect one another and build a better future together in the memory of Oliver Reginald Tambo and J.B. Max. I'm very happy, Premier, that you have combined this place with another one to make it a bigger municipality. And you are giving it the name J.B. Max. And it is in the post office, being posted to the minister, who has not received the stuff yet. Wonderful. This will make this place wonderful. It is famous of producing two extremes. A communist on one side, a racist on the other. Now these are being worked to come together. Okay? Wonderful. Fellow South Africans, especially the youth, let me reiterate that education is the key to a brighter future. Our message to the youth is study, read, and be knowledgeable so that you can lead the country into the future. Knowledge is an instrument that gives you the energy, capacity to participate to take South Africa forward. Absolutely important. And at any given time, it is the youth that shapes the future for itself. Without the youth standing up, the youth is still having energy, imagination, sort of adventurous kind of thing, you succeed. Education, education, education. No country has succeeded or has developed without education. All those countries that invest in education, they are investing cleverly, and they know what they are doing. It's a matter of time. They will be in the top line. That's what South Africa can be. If we can produce these young people, there is no old men here, but they have already achieved. They have already achieved. Some of them, you can refer to them now as boss. They are employing people. Why? Because abaduli fast fell. Babereka. Basebisi. Hey. Kiona e. Dream. If you are a youth, dream. Interpret the dream. Implement the dream. Is your right. Ito ngasafanele siphuphe manje. Thina sesiphupha ngale. Kuthi sinayo indawo. So fika indawo ikhona yini. Singaze silusa amadada. Kuthiwa indawo ayikho la uyabanishwa lusa amadada. Ningalingisi lo tsotsi. Owashona esemncane. Ehamba namakhehle ezulwini. Kulamakhehle kukhona umfundisi. Umfundisi uphethe itikiti lakhe lasezulwini ulifakela ngemva. Utsotsi ngemva kwakhe. Uyalibona itikiti utsotsi akanalo itikiti. Useyalithwebula. Uyalithatha. Uyafika umfundisi kuthiwa itikiti uyafuna ke. Uyafuna sonke lesikhathi kuthiwa awumeceleni ubufuna abangene wangena utsotsi. Itikiti wangena ngaphakathi. Wangena ezulwini utsotsi ngetikiti. Umfundisi uyafuna. Finally abasegate bathi no kusho ukuthi awunalo itikiti. No ngumfundisi mina kodwa futhi ube umfundisi onezono. Hamba kushone ngale. Uya esihogweni. Then he gets there. Bamfaka lapha bamfaka imfologo akayinawo indaba uyafuna. Usafuna itikiti lakhe. Ulazi kahle lila. Now after some time usathane uyabona ukuthi lo muntu lo akezwe ngisho umlilo. Ufuna itikiti. So bambuza ufuna ndoda. No, I'm looking for my ticket longena ezulwini. Ubuliphethe ehe. So usefonela uNkulunkulu ukuthi hey kunomuntu la uthi ufuna itikiti lakhe lokungena. Now I think lo muntu udukile. Kusho ukuthi khona wami ozenga lapha. Manje somthola kanjani? Ngoba kusho ukuthi owami lapho ilokufana ngabula kuze owakho ngala. Kuthiwe no akube khona iconcert. Kuzabantu abazoshaya intambo ikhala kamnandi. Zanele zakhala intambo babona ngotsotsi sethi. Kwathiwa ozala. Awukhipha itikiti lakho, barkhipha. Ubani wena? Akalazi naleli gamela la. Ntshontshe itikiti lomlungu. Lo lekamfundisi. So don't do that. Don't take itikiti lethu thina sesoyihamba. Work for it. Please study, gain the skills you need to become successful. That's a message to the youth. Study, learn. You know, if I tell people I never went to school, they don't believe it. Not a single teacher in South Africa could say he saw this forehead of mine in his class or her class. Never. I never went to school because I had problems. But I took a decision to educate myself. Angihlalanga phansi. This time around, when government even assists us, even if the assistance is not yet 100%, but there are more opportunities. Please, come in, be in this earth, play your part. As individual and collectively, as these brothers and sisters have done. Play your part. You can't fail. I was not just uneducated in the township only, in the rural area. No school, nothing. But I educated myself because I did not sit down. I stood up and said, I must succeed. Tell me today that you are educated, I don't care. You can tell me, I'm not worried. You tell me, mina ngafunda Shakespeare, ngizakubonisa. Ngizamusho Shakespeare manje. Because I studied for knowledge, not for the examination. And therefore the knowledge is here. You want me to quote Shakespeare to prove the point? Which one do you want me to quote? Huh? Julius Caesar. I've come here to bury Caesar. Huh? Not to praise him. Huh? You want Macbeth? You know the Benamud in Macbeth. Aeneas got an iPhone. Macbeth was told by a soothsayer that no man born of a woman can kill him unless the Benham wood moved. You remember that? And what happened? In some mysterious situation, he was told the Benham wood is moving. And he knew that was the end of him. Because the enemy had taken cover there and took the branches, camouflaged with it. So as they moved out, they looked like the entire Benham wood was moving. Whilst he was in trouble, somebody comes to tell him that the wife has just died. What does he say in the soliloquy? She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Ngiyaniyeka lapha. Industrialists in various fields and achieve the economic freedom that your forebears were unable to achieve. If the old ones did not become scientists, they did not go to the moon. Let us go to the moon now. Yes, that's what we need to do. If they did not discover other things, let us discover them now. That is your job. I wish I was still a youth. In this freedom, I will be everything. I will even have the wings to fly. Because it is wonderful to be youth. In this way, you will pay fitting tribute to the 1976 generation who struggled when it was heavy, when they were shot at. Today, nobody shoots at us. We can do more. It is our wish that as young people, we become greater in taking South Africa to prosperity. Don't join people who are very negative about South Africa, who even forget where it comes from. Be positive. Because if we are negative, then everything looks negative around you. But if you are positive, everything looks positive. As a young person, be positive. You must always want to jump and catch the moon. As a young person. Don't walk like Mtomdala. As a young man, ngizonibona kahle manje manzonika report ngoJuly about committees. Agreed? Wonderful. Well, colleagues, citizens, we have commemorated this day today. I wish you all a meaningful and successful National Youth Day today. Remember, those who died on this day, who disappeared, they were fighting so that today we should be free. This must be remembered all the time. Even if umoya omubi uyakufikela, khumbula, we have to make South Africa reach prosperity. And it is us, nobody else who will do so. Re a leboga. Ke leboga haholo ba Yesu, batho ba bokoni bopereng. Thank you very much.
Continue go isa diflaga tsa rona go godimo to show respect bomme ka megolokwane le medidietsane. As I welcome on the podium the Honorable Executive Mayor of the District, Meba Soweto, Gorefa mafoko a tebogo, Honorable Premier and Honorable Minister, allow me to say, no little amount of infiltration will deter us from loving and respecting our president. Siyakuthanda baba, siyakuhlonipha, and we are not shaken. Can we raise our flags to show the love and respect to our president? We wanted to say, as the hosting province and the young people in the republic, we are not afraid. Not anytime soon, we'll continue to respect our president. Meba Soweto, gore lebogela baeng ba rona.
Well, that was President Jacob Zuma delivering his keynote address here in Ventersdorp as we remember the youth of 1976. And I mean, when we do that, we don't just talk about the history. We have to talk about how far we've come as a country, what we've achieved, and the challenges that we continue to face. Now, President Jacob Zuma focused a lot on social and economic freedom when it comes to the youth. Now, we know that, especially here in Ventersdorp, those are issues that the youth faces and continues to grapple with, and not just here in Ventersdorp, but around the country as well. We know that there was a bit of difficulty there when the president took to the podium a little bit earlier, where there was a group that tried to heckle him, but they were soon taken out of the venue by police. When that happened, halfway through the speech, it happened again, and we know that there was a bit of a fight between this group and the police outside the venue, but they were taken out of the gates of the venue. But now, Lebo, before you wrap for us, just tell us more about the other issues that the president focused on today.
Absolutely, Nomawetu. The president really encouraged the youth to put education as a priority in their lives, and that once they do that, they will be able to succeed. And that's one of the most important ways in which they would be able to honor the fallen heroes who have laid their lives before them, and that also to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them. I think all the speakers that spoke here today spoke really in unison, talking about economic transformation, particularly by the youth. But of course, Nomawetu, that's how we wrap up events here today. From all of us here in Ventersdorp, it's a wrap, and it's back to you in studio.
Africa is getting more and more digitized, and people have to navigate through an increasingly connected world.
I did a call my bay over here.
At school, I use my Wi-Fi.
On Network, we tell you about Africa's technology and social media landscape.
Politicians already do use Twitter a lot.
It's both Android and iOS compatible.
A solar charged box that includes everything, the computer, the projector.
That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 9 p.m.
On June 16, 1976, about 10,000 students took to the streets of Soweto to march against being taught in Afrikaans.
Nobody expected that this is going to be a big thing, because it was just a students' march. The student was just